Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and welcome to Hash Church episode 92. A little bit late this morning. I woke up about 15 minutes, kind of had my head all screwed on a little wrong, and just glad I was able to make it down here in time and get this going. The original Hash Church link did not work. It would not give me a stop or start broadcast. So that is why I had to start about a minute late. I'm going to send out the link here real quick via a couple of Skype emails and ding. All right, here we go. Welcome, everyone. I hope you're doing really good today. I got not a huge group planned for today, but definitely should have some good folks coming in. Morning, D420K, who just sent me a text.
Good morning, Bubbleman.
Hey, guys. Good morning to both of you. How are you doing today?
Doing wonderful. How are you, Todd?
What's that?
Totally awake.
Totally awake. Dude, I woke up, honestly, 12 minutes ago.
Oh, crap. About time you started sleeping in.
Dude, that's a huge sleep in for me, but I stayed up super late with my daughter watching scary movies.
Nice.
Oh.
Yeah, it was great. You know, it's always a good thing to, it's hard to spend time with your teenage daughter. They're kind of at a point where they're really not as interested in hanging out with you. But I took her yesterday into the city to get some pizza, which was for us. We don't usually drive, 30 minutes to go get pizza, but it was just a nice drive to be in the car with her and kind of find out what's going on in her life. And yeah, it's important to stay connected to your children, that's for sure. But that ended up being up till like 1:30 in the morning watching this movie called The Conjuring, which I have to admit is a scary movie. Part 2, The Conjuring Part 2. That's a creepy movie, man. Holy shit.
Late nights and scary movies, winning combination.
Dude, I'm telling you. Hey, congratulations, Etienne. I saw you got yourself a new little shop there just down the road.
Let's see. Yes, was very fortunate. Opened up a facility in Incline Village, Nevada, on Lake Tahoe on the Nevada side. So we just got inspected on Friday from the state, and so we're all good to go. We're the first ones to get the full clean bill, and they were highly impressed. And now we next week we'll be able to purchase from the manufacturers in the state, and we'll be able to start carrying cannabis at New Leaf in Incline Village, 877 Tahoe Boulevard in Incline Village, Nevada.
Good for you, man. That's great. Todd told me a little bit about it. It looked great. Looked like a nice little spot you got there.
It was.
It's totally done.
It took some time. Took a while. It's been 3 years in the making, but that's how it goes. You start off with planning, and hopefully one day it becomes a reality. And this week it became a reality. Thanks for coming, Todd. It was a hell of a lot of fun to have you there.
Cheers.
Yeah, you and Todd drove down. That's awesome.
Yeah, actually up. It's about what, 8,000 feet into the mountains? 9. It's really high up.
Yeah, it's very high up on the elevation because we're right on Lake Tahoe there.
Lake Tahoe. I have a lot of people when I post my photos of where I live ask me if it's Lake Tahoe. I've never been to Lake Tahoe, but I'd love to go check it out.
It's totally right up your alley. It looks totally like everything that you live around. It's in the mountains, surrounded by. I mean, there's still snow up in the mountains right now in June. But the water is absolutely crystal blue. Hey, there's Sam.
Howdy.
How you doing there this late night there in the Netherlands?
It's not late. It's only 6 o'clock at night.
Oh, my God. That's super late.
Super late.
Not past your bedtime?
Almost.
Hey, welcome, Mark Scialdone, if you're there, or if you're not, welcome anyway.
Welcome the image of Mark Scialdone.
Yes, exactly, holding a little marshmallow gummy bear molecule. Welcome, Mark.
Hey, how you doing, guys?
Oh, we're doing pretty good here at 9:06 a.m. We got 445 people. They were waiting. They're like, what are these guys going to talk about today? Like, we got to tune in for Hash Church. We've created this thing, guys. I don't know if you've noticed, but every morning and Saturday we got to get our asses up out of bed, no matter what. Yeah, I know.
It's so cool to go in the chat room like just before we start, just to see who's up and who's awake and what they're chattering about and
Wait,
Yep.
today is Saturday? I thought it was Sunday. I think you're a day early there, Bubbleman.
It's Saturday to Sunday. And I woke up 12 minutes ago. I'm not as sharp as I usually am. You know what? We need to blow a bong rip towards the Vatican. There's D420K. He can even say it.
There you go. There.
Let's do this. Woo! What's up, mother lovers?
D, it was great to catch you yesterday on Facebook. You're fucking hilarious, man.
Mark showed me that. He's like, hey, why don't we try doing one of those video chats in your buddy's store? Check it out. I was like, I can do that? Is that easy? He's, yeah. So I checked it out.
Yeah.
Fucking works great.
It was fun watching you make dry sift.
Yeah, it was fun doing that. I like doing that shit. It's a fun video, interaction, lots of people. Fuck, it was great.
Well, you were showing great techniques with the static and everything, which I know some people have heard, but not everybody has seen. So that was very cool to watch you do the whole process with your little brush and everything.
Well, you know, the one guy was doing the parchment on the one side, and then I showed him just that flipping it around, and it just makes a massive difference. As soon as you're not taking anything off of those, picking anything up, flip it around. You'll pick it all up. The static's on the inside.
Brilliant.
Oh, yeah. Well, I'm going to have a little bong rip. Oh, no, I'm not. My D-nail's not up to temperature. I don't want to have a super cold bong rip, so I think I'll just wait a few seconds. I don't even think I've been clicking on the camera while you guys have been talking. I am seriously asleep right now.
You need more bong hits, man.
I need a bong rip. We got some people in the chat room, though. They're like, what's up?
Hey, I don't mind if you don't turn the camera on me and leave it there. I really don't mind.
Well,
pot smokers are already paranoid, and when I'm staring at the thing going, isn't it changing? Why isn't it changing?
well,
Yeah.
they showed a picture of Zuckerberg the other day at his desk, and he was just holding this sort of Instagram frame that around his head, and you could see his desk in the background, but people were tripping at the fact that he had his camera on his laptop taped. People were like,
Not stupid.
Zuckerberg's taped.
As well as his microphone was taped too. You noticed that?
Yeah. Oh,
yeah, I just wanted to point out, he knows what Facebook can do, right?
He knows exactly what it can do. Your light doesn't have to turn off for your camera to engage.
You mean that little green light won't be telling me something?
It won't tell you that people are looking at you through your camera. It is kind of a trippy world that we live in, especially us, like from this cannabis world. I can remember a day where batteries were getting taken out of the cell phone and we were talking in the bathroom with the bathtub turned on full. So this is kind of the paranoid world that we came from, particularly the paranoid world of large packs of cannabis being brokered. That was always kind of like, just don't leave the battery in the phone. Don't talk too much out in the open. Nowadays, we got soundman coming in. We got, hey, soundman, can you mic up all my friends? They all need to be mic'd. We got 4 different camera angles. We're like, we are recording everything we say. It's a little bit different from 20 years ago, I'm just going to say.
Well, it's just funny because 20 years ago when we were out on the road, we would sell, High Times and grow books. And grow books were extremely popular all over the country wherever we went because people were afraid they were going to end up on a list by sending off and mailing to these people that were just distributing books, much less the realities that have transpired. Now it is a reality. The paranoia was so bad. When I first grew pot in West Virginia, my friend and I had to go to Ohio, to another state, and go a couple of large cities over, and then park blocks away from the grow store because of how fucking paranoid we were back in, 88, 89, just to, try and grow a couple of plants in a closet was fucking terrifying.
Right?
So now the reality is, it is an actual state where they're actually recording absolutely everything you order and where you come from. Companies now, it's expected that they track your purchases so they can tell you what cool things are coming up. Nice little manipulation there, eh?
They call it metrics and analytics. We used to just call it spying.
Right?
When I met Sam, they were unplugging the phones in their Dutch homes because that article about Echelon had come out not far, much earlier, showing that every single phone in your home was a live microphone
TVs.
That they could tap into and listen to you from any room without picking up the device.
Anything that's a speaker. I just got a link sent to me from a guy on Facebook that says, why the FBI director puts tape over his webcam.
Well, not only that, you've got televisions like Samsung that'll actually start recording you too.
Yeah, they'll listen to you.
Yeah, Siri also uses voice on your little Apple TV, et cetera, et cetera.
Most of your phones as well, if you go to Google, there's a spot where you can actually find not only your locations of it following where your phone's been. I have mine shut off a long time ago, but also recordings of your voice that you can go and you can either turn on, off, or leave on. But you can't actually find these websites where like Google has recorded your voice. I guess it's for the same with Siri and all these things. But
and growers, don't geotag by accident your location where you grow, produce, manufacture, cut your shit up, load to, et cetera, word to the wise. Don't do that. That's
Marcus, I have never had a portable phone, not even once.
That is amazing. Well, you know what? Look at your little yellow stubby fingers. How could you even use one?
Whoa.
Well, no, I'm talking about his doll.
Right. It only talks in rhymes too, right?
Right.
My fingers are good, stubby.
Look, he's got Trump hands.
Yeah, they're really giant, man. Giant hands.
They're huge.
Wow, you guys aren't Trump supporters? I can't believe it.
Dude, I don't even want to get into it too much, but when I saw Bernie
teasing.
the other day, I saw Bernie tell everyone he was voting for Hillary, and I was just like, I shut that shit off so fast.
I love you. That's great. You may be Canadian, but you're still appalled.
I still feel your pain.
Thank you.
It's like you use logic in your brain or something. How dare you?
I don't know. It's all the smoke I've been blowing to the Vatican. I blame Rob Clark.
That's fine. We can blame Rob. Where's Rob? We can go. I'll blame Rob.
I'll blame Rob too.
Rob's not here, so we can blame him for sure.
Rob's not here. I thought it was Dave's not here.
Well, it's Rob's not here.
Bubbleman.
We got shots at Bernie.
Have you done a bong rip yet, Mark?
No, I was waiting for my little nail to get heated, but you know what? It's well heated now, so let me just.
Yeah, that was a way too low temp a dab earlier. Is all I'm saying.
Yeah,
I like low temp, but that's a little too low.
Yeah, it was like 300 and something.
Terp dip that shit.
Got some nice West Coast concentrate. Thanks to those guys. I put it in these jars. Have you heard about these UV jars, guys? My friend Mitch sent me these jars. The company name is Vitality Glassware, and these are black. They're actually kind of bluish. They're this weird UV glass, and I guess what the point is you're supposed to put your product in there, and then you can actually leave it out in the sun, and there's some form of change that goes on. I have to say I was a little bit leery. I put this, yeah, I'm telling you, dude. I put this little bit of hash in there, and it was a much lighter color, and it did not have quite as strong of a stench. I left it in the glass jar, and I actually just put the glass jar right into one of these jars like this, and yeah, it's definitely interesting.
It would be great. It'd be great, Mark, if you keep a sample in the clear glass jar and put a small sample in the other glass jar and age those two samples side by side and see if you see any difference between the two.
Yeah, well, I have done that in the past, not with these jars, but with other jars, and the difference that I've seen is incredible. Of course, I have my, going on 9 years. I'm not sure where it is because I was playing with it yesterday, but I have a couple of chunks of hash that are quite old. Yeah, here's the 9-year-old one right there, nice and small. There, really, it's self-pressed itself onto my desk. This is incredible quality. And then I have
like a guitar pick.
Oh yeah, this is the same hash actually, if you can believe it, because this was out of a jar. Oh, careful now, don't be spilling terps. That would be a crime. So here we go. These are both the same hashes.
Can you use that hash as a guitar pick?
Oh, you could definitely use this hash as a guitar pick. It's hard as a rock. It's a rock. Jeez, I'm knocking dabbers over. All right, well,
so you can play a couple
Dab
tunes
stat,
and then
man.
dab.
Absolutely. I guess.
So you can play a couple.
Sorry?
I was just going to say you could play a couple tunes and then take a dab off of what you just played. That's
Literally,
hilarious.
there's a video right there. If I could play better guitar, I would make that video, but I think that's on you, Mark, not me. Dabs up, guys. Got the halo nice and clean and plugged into the straight fab.
Terp dip.
Where's your fatty, Todd?
I'm not going to get that chalice out. We'll talk about chalice another day.
Hey, Dougie was going to do Hash Church today.
Oh, yeah?
Well, so, yeah, that one. Well, let me see if I can make it so.
So was Jeff Mazinski, the guy that got busted in '96 for 6 pounds of weed and served 20 years and then just got out. I sent him a link. Well, I spoke with him actually a week ago or so, and he was he said he would come on and tell his story, but I haven't talked to him since, so I'm not sure if we're going to be seeing him.
Yeah, I reached out to him right after he got out to see about doing that, and he'd been very busy doing other things. So hopefully he'll get in here soon. So because it's a fascinating story. Because he had the life. He was sentenced to life in jail. So he was.
It was like over 60 years or something.
Pretty much, and got out. So he's one of those who's done the time.
Incredible story for sure. Definitely hate to hear of people having to serve multiple decades in prison, but really happy to hear that he got out, you know.
So this week we also had in Oakland, we had the United States had the National Cannabis Industries Association's Business Summit and Expo, where we have, I'm on the board of directors for the National Cannabis Industries Association, and we have over 1,000 members in our under our business prerogative right now. So it's all over the United States and reaching into other countries are reaching out now because of how effective we've been able to be. We're lobbying on Capitol Hill. Each year we get together and have our members. We had 150 members this year go up on the Hill and discuss, you know, the whole banking situation, which is starting to make its way into legislation. So already our direct actions have had a ripple effect on the current draconian laws here. So we're pretty excited. We had people from all around the country and companies from all around the world actually show up. You know, Sigma, all the big players are starting to come in. The hydroponics companies and the lighting companies are apparently they've decided that we're no longer the redheaded stepchildren that they ignored all these years, even though we made their realities complete. They're actually can play in our world due to being legal in legal states, also with the medical marijuana in now 25, 26 states. So it's had a need to pull all the ancillary businesses in from, you know, head shops, you know, with pipes, pipe cleaners, pipe cleaning solutions, to now major hydroponics manufacturers, solutions manufacturers, various lighting techs. We had various manufacturing companies who make all types of CO2 and you know, butane extractions, PHO extractions, units, custom unit manufacturers, large-scale greenhouse, large-scale greenhouses all the way, forever flowering greenhouses. Everything you're looking for regarding cannabis was there and represented, from, you know, the seed companies, not European seed companies, American seed companies. It's just a whole bunch of people who are vying for the future. And I'd say quite a few of those businesses we'd never seen show up at a trade show for our industry before. So it's very nice to see the normalization of cannabis in a way that these major businesses aren't afraid to bring their hundreds of thousands of dollars in equipment, set them up in their areas, and show people exactly what they're doing, from, you know, large-scale horticultural drying situations in greenhouses in high humid situations to, you know, Bovita packs, which are these small desiccant packs that can fit into your cannabis. For me, it doesn't matter so much here in the Bay Area, but with my facilities opening up in Nevada, you know, being extremely humid, I mean, extremely non-humid, you know, extremely dry, we need things like Bovita packs. So it's nice to see, to keep the cannabis hydrated or from drying out. So it was great to see these ancillary businesses showing up and coming to play and do real business. So it was quite an honor.
How dare you say it doesn't matter in the Bay? How dare you? Okay. It does, though. I use him in everything, and he is stoned, is all I'm saying.
Well, I'm talking about for my bulk packaging and stuff like that.
No, you don't see a decrease in the rapid turnover you do at BPG, but if you buy the stuff and you have it for more than a couple days, they're gold. They really are gold. I wish you would put them in all your jars because it really is the difference. It keeps high-end. It keeps high-end buds high-end.
Right, it's a terpene retention. Is that what we're talking about? Right. Is one of the most important things as we've been learning all about these terpenes, everybody, and you know these terpene solutions. We know they're inherently live on the plant. So once we dry them, they dissipate. So any way that we can retain them, and it seems that proper humidity and temperature and no large fluctuations seems to be the best in retaining as much of your trichomes and your terpenes as possible, given the situation and where you are.
It's always good to retain your terpenes. There's no doubt about that.
I saw Etienne's eyes opening wide when I opened my little jars of weed.
Excellent. We've got a nice little show coming up as well, a little conference called the Cannabis Hemp Conference at the Weston Bay Shores on July 9th and 10th, and there's a great list of speakers. I'm pretty stoked to. I mean, it's got a ton of local activist cannabis-involved people, like obviously the Emerys and Chris Bennett and Dana Larson and all these folks that have been involved, myself, Matt Barron, and some others, but also like, really, Mark Hayden from MAPS is going to be there. We've got Stephen Gray, an author and a speaker, Dr. Lumiere Andres Hanus, who discovered the endocannabinoid system, is going to be there. And just really looking forward to it. It's just a couple of days, but been wanting to meet this Canadian doctor, Dr. Dave Hepburn, who has made it his. It was actually David Hutchinson who had told me about Dave Hepburn, and I tried to get him on Hash Church, but his Sundays were just brutal, just like Clint and Dr. Donald Abrams. Very hard to get these guys in here, but be looking forward to connecting with him at this event, because he's really doing that job that we've talked about a little bit here on Hash Church in the past of being a doctor who is actually educated in the endocannabinoid system and phytocannabinoids and cannabis and terpenes and all of the ensemble and entourage effects, and quite deep is his knowledge, and then being able to pass that on to other doctors. I just feel personally that doctors are so much more willing to listen to other doctors because they feel they're on an even playing field, where often the majority of doctors have been trained to feel that they are, your doctor, and that you're just a couple of notches down below them, and they're going to tell you what you need to know. Not all doctors by any means. There's some amazing doctors out there, but generalizing the basic, we've seen many doctors tell people there's no medical benefit to cannabis, and those are kind of the doctors that Dave Hepburn is trying to educate. So props to him, and props to Salome for putting this on through Cambridge House in July, and hopefully if any of you guys are in Vancouver, you can check it out. It should be a pretty good event. Hillary, of course, Hillary Black will be there as well speaking. So.
And I just confirmed that Dougie will join us at about 10 a.m. and talk about Chalice.
All right, so he's literally getting out of bed, making coffee, having a shower.
Breakfast, yeah. He's going to do things that we didn't like it.
These guys do not fuck around. It's 9 o'clock.
Etienne, you'd mentioned something about Gavita. There is a very significant thing on the business landscape. Hawthorne Gardening, which is basically Scott's Miracle Grow, has now taken it. Is that right?
Yeah, I believe Miracle Grow is Monsanto.
It's just a brand. I think it's I'm not sure if that's right, Mark. I think Hawthorne, I think it's a. Okay, I could be right, but anyway, they've taken a 75% interest in Gavita, which is pretty significant.
Yeah,
as business
Monsanto,
transactions.
exclusive agent for the marketing and distributor of consumer Roundup. So Scott's Miracle-Gro is Monsanto's exclusive agent for the marketing and distribution of consumer Roundup. They got a definite deal with Monsanto. I saw the connection on Instagram. People were a little upset.
Yeah, I'm not saying that they don't have a deal, but I think they are two distinct, different companies. I think
that most of the companies Monsanto deals with, they have control over. I could be wrong. They might not be the giant evil corporation that I believe they are to be, but I think they are.
Right. Well, right now, you know, they're basically in talks with Bayer, which is the largest pharmaceutical, largest chemical company in the world.
That got rejected. Monsanto rejected it outright. Right the day after. Yeah, they offered like $46 billion or something like that, and they said,
it was
nope.
a big one.
All right, so going back to what we were talking about for doctors talking to doctors, I had posted in the Hash Church regarding a cannabis speaker series from botany to medicine. It's a class that is done by the University of Vermont, and that went on this week, and that was very interesting. It's just an hour course online, basically breaking down the endocannabinoid system and aspects of medical cannabis, and which I attended the class online. It was very fascinating because it was a lot of doctors who were logged in. It was doctors talking to doctors, so it was interesting to watch that dynamic go down because for the most part I'm only used to dealing and handling cannabis, so it was interesting to watch the specific questions doctor to doctor that went in kind of like this side chat that we have going here. They had a chat going on there, so definitely check it out. There's I think a couple more classes still. It's a cannabis speaker series. It's free. It's from the University of Vermont, and they're also going to be offering I think another 8-series course as well. I think continuing, but I think that's for actual credit for doctors so that they can actually provide certification that they've gone through some sort of cannabis education. And so they were basically providing studies, links to information, and everything was straight up doctor talk.
Wow.
Yeah, you can even slip messages notes to the other students in the class. So I was able to harass Etienne.
Yeah, stop sending notes in class, man. Teacher's gonna catch. I'm gonna get in trouble.
Yeah, not gonna stop. Grow up. I'm kidding. No, it was really cool. I'm glad they're offering it. You know, this has to be the future of a lot of universities. I would like to see a syllabus written around cannabis, evolution, and ethnobotany because it is literally the sorry, Dobermans. It is literally the best book on cannabis I think that a college student could get his hands on or her hands on.
No, Oscar Diaz, it's not true. I do not own Monsanto shares, but thanks for asking.
Whoa, that's a good investment.
I thought all the Illuminati had all those.
Oh, right. No, I'm not the Illuminati. Remember, we went over this. I'm just illuminated. It's quite different.
You're not that illuminated. You were only up for 15 minutes.
I just wore a yellow shirt to make myself bright, okay? Fuck!
Let me guess, you're so bright your dad calls you son.
I'm so bright, apparently I own shares in fucking Monsanto. That's some bullshit right there. I got no shares in fucking evil companies. Not a single blue chip company do I have shares in. Just for everyone's knowledge and information. I try to
stay. Who cares if you did? So what? That's your business. What you have
but I don't. But I don't. And I'm just like,
well, I do, and everybody who thinks it's wrong can go fuck themselves. What I do in my finances is my own fucking business.
Yeah, but you don't want to support a super evil company like Bayer.
If you're trading stocks and you're basically balancing a portfolio of stocks, you're basing it on return on investment. You can look at the companies you invest in, absolutely, but
oh yeah,
it's bullshit for people to call you out like that. It's just totally.
Dude, people have been calling me out for 15 years, dude. People like get excited just to come to my booth to call me out right to my face sometimes. I enjoy it. It's fine. How you doing, Tony? You been called out lately?
I don't know what I joined into, but
Good morning. You're on the spot.
He's like, why do I do this? Really, why? Look at what I step into, you know. Good morning.
How many shares of Monsanto do you have, Tony?
I have negative. I don't have any shares. I don't have any lights. I don't have anything to do with Monsanto.
Oh, you didn't buy Gavita?
No, I don't know what's going on. I just jumped.
What's in your 401k, mister?
Unfortunately, I haven't been in a good position to even have a 401k probably.
I highly recommend it. You know, if anything were to happen, that's money that governments can't seize from you. Just FYI.
Oh, really? So you're saying with 280E they can't take 401ks? I thought they could take
not your personal. They're going after all your business stuff.
Yeah, the dank Duchess says the ethics of having shares in destructive company. Yeah, like there are none. Just my 2 cents. You know, if you believe a company is super evil and destructive and damaging the integrity of people or the planet, you know, you can vote with your dollars by not supporting that company. I feel like I shouldn't even have to say it, but it's pretty simple. Do some research. There's lots of strange things that companies are connected to that the internet has allowed us to unveil and show, you know, the sort of these connections where I saw one the other day and I thought it had to be fake. It was this like HE362, which is actually like a stem cell from like baby kidneys or something, aborted baby fetuses, and it's like I saw this post that said it was used as a flavoring agent in foods, and then it had a huge list of all these companies that use this shit. Ocean Spray, and like I was just like, wow, like it's good and important for us to discover these things, and whether that one was true or not, there are ones that are true. There are companies that are using, you know, horrible things like aspartame, and it's easy enough to find out the different names of these things, and you don't have to become a complete religious, you know, nut bar over it. But it's I think it's good to choose an apple over a candy bar every once in a while, like every time.
What are you guys talking about?
That's the moral of today's Hash Church. You should sometimes choose an apple over a candy bar.
We were talking about
shares in Monsanto.
Yeah, we were talking about
whether or not working with a company like Monsanto, it makes you also evil by association.
Right. On the heels of basically Gavita, which again is a very widely used, you know, or throughout the industry, widely used products, now being, you know, basically bought by Hawthorne Gardening, which is Scott's Miracle Grow, which is a huge. Right,
but they also bought Advanced. I mean, not Advanced. They bought General Hydroponics a few years ago as well. So they've been in the acquisitions area, seeing as the the cannabis market opens up, these companies are going to come in and buy these smaller companies out because they see the larger picture. You know,
well, because they sell to the mainstream. They sell to all the people that we aren't. And as we fight and fight and fight for this to be allowed for everyone, they're gearing up. This is the funny thing that I see it so often because you see, I mean, Emery right now is in the news. Here's a crazy story. He opens the cannabis culture recreational shop or leases his name to Chris and Goodwin Aaron. I don't know the exact relationship, but they're definitely connected. It's their name. They get busted in Toronto. Not Mark, Emery, and Jody. They're in Vancouver, but Aaron gets busted. Chris is already on like home arrest for the last shop that they had busted. And they get busted. Aaron gets taken off to jail with a few others. It was the class.
Is he?
And choosing not to just hide behind the defense of the medical, but now taking the next step, realizing the door's open enough, we've got our foot in there, like we've been talking about with Ohio and all these different sort of things. Get your foot in the door. It's easier to push the door open 6 more inches than it is to actually fucking open it when it's locked and slammed in your face. That's what we've been trying to talk about for all these episodes of Hash Church. It's not like these things are the best options. They're the better option for now. It'll foot in the door us and get us there. So congratulations on them for doing that. What I was really blown away was Mark Emery flying out to Ontario the next day after they got busted, opening the shop, and fucking selling weed all day recreationally, not hiding behind a medical, literally selling weed to pretty much anyone that wanted to come in and buy weed, and then saying to the news people, hey, listen, we are not going to give this to these people who have hated marijuana or cannabis all this time. We've been loving it. We've been using it. We've been growing it. We've been selling it and packaging it and doing all the things. We should be allowed to be a part of this industry. In fact, I think he said anyone that wants to be a part of this industry should be able to open up a shop and just play in the free market. If their business model is no good, they'll fail. It's how business works. You don't need to regulate it. The people regulate business by voting with their dollars, and that's what we're talking about right now. So if you don't like the relationship that you see with Miracle Grow and General Hydroponics and Gavita Lights, then stop supporting those companies. Vote with your dollars. Do your research.
And kudos to Aaron Goodwin on standing tall in the dealing with those officers. So
you see the look of shame on their face, Etienne?
I know, right? They didn't know what they didn't know what to deal with there. You're not supposed to be this calm, cool, and collective when we're arresting you.
Dude, come on! Just arresting young girls like for doing a. I always go back to Todd's habitual florists. We are habitual florists. We like to trade our flowers. We like to sell our flowers. We like to grow our flowers. And it seems pretty much like the most ridiculous thing, because you know now, because they're allowing it, they're not arresting people for breaking the law of selling cannabis. They're arresting people for breaking the law of making profit off cannabis. And that's the new law here in Canada, that it's like certain people are allowed to make profit.
So the semantics have changed. They're just changing their verbiage.
Yeah, well, I would like to see them change a little more, because I would really like to see them starting to call it adult use, because really what they're promoting is the ability to sell to other adults. And the media keeps putting it out as recreational use, and then there's cross stories about, you know, children getting their hands on cannabis, and I don't think it's the point at all. I think really the point is about adult use, and should an adult have the right to go in Canada and purchase it like they do whiskey or wine or cigarettes or anything else that is tended solely for adults with no fear of consequence. I mean, it's like steak knives in the kitchen. We do not put little locks on them because, you know, 6- and 7-year-old Sue and Johnny don't know how to handle themselves around the kitchen.
Hey, and even worse than that, Todd, and Sam said this a while ago, and I can't remember if it was in a hash church or if he said it just to me, but we were talking about cannabinoids and endocannabinoids in breast milk, and Sam goes, yeah, it's for the children. And when he said that, I was like, you know, you're right, dude. I mean, as crazy as it sounds in this whole flipped-up, bizarro world we've been living in of cannabis prohibition, cannabinoids are for children too, just as important, just as essential. To say that they're not, that we need to keep them out of the hands of the children, I understand where they're coming from. Oh, we don't want the kids rolling and smoking joints. Gotcha. But the reality is that cannabinoids are for children and humans and anything with an endocannabinoid system, and you don't need to be an adult to use cannabinoids. And that's funny, because the last leg of prohibition, because they're always like, we can't let the kids get it, but the last leg of prohibition that's falling out from under them is the kids. It's little girls like Guinevere who are using cannabis and no longer having seizures that are actually convincing this group of people, oh, okay, maybe we should let them have cannabis. It's actually children that are requiring this. I suspect that in the very near future within our lives that kids will be able to get phytocannabinoid supplements and be able to take those much like a Flintstone vitamin, and it's going to be fine. It's okay.
Yeah, I think it will
not
be
only
vitamin.
that, but
Vitamin-like.
Go ahead, Sam.
If alcohol like beer can be sold and be found in most families' refrigerators, then cannabis can be safely stored in most people's homes also.
Yeah, absolutely, 100%. See what the chat room saying. They're still going on about Monsanto. There's a company that you just have to mention the name, and that's the thing. It's like, how connected are they? I don't know. I really don't know. But from my perspective, how fucked up the company of Monsanto is, and Bayer for that much, because Bayer goes back even farther into IG Farben, into Nazi Germany. That's a crazy one. If you want to Google Bayer and how they came to be, and look at the directors and all the people involved in those companies, that is some unbelievably heinous shit.
Yeah, but they did invent heroin. That was real good for junks, yeah?
Yeah, they did that, and they did invent kind of computers, but only really to like monitor the murdering of massive amounts of people. So I don't know. I'm not feeling too positive about much of what they did. I will say Michael Pollan does write, and I think I mentioned this about the corn. He writes in his book The Omnivore's Dilemma, which I think is the only kind of thing I've ever heard out of that whole Nazi Germany thing that turned out to be a positive for mankind, which is when Hitler had Haber and Bosch create synthetic nitrates because he didn't want to rely on Chile for his synthetic nitrates for explosives. The synthetic nitrates, after the war, became used as fertilizers, and those produced 5 to 10 times more corn per acre than had ever been produced prior to that with natural nitrogen-rich soils. So basically, he writes this stat down that says about 1 out of every 5 people on the planet is alive because of what Haber and Bosch did. We wouldn't have had the natural nitrogen to produce the food for 7 billion people, but this synthetic nitrate allowed us to grow that much more corn. For instance, I believe it was 20 acres of corn, 20 per acre, 20 bushels per acre of corn prior to synthetic nitrates, and now we get close to 200 bushels of corn for that same acre. So pretty fucking crazy that the guy is probably responsible, Hitler, for creating more Jewish lives than he actually took. That's crazy.
Hey, welcome, Dougie.
Dougie's in the house.
Yo, how you guys doing?
Poolside?
Buddy, I'm sorry I'm not equipped with a fucking headset. You know what I mean?
You know what? You're sounding fine, so I think we're okay. It's just the people that come in without a headset that sound terrible that we usually have a problem with.
Nice. This is my first time on this shit.
Yeah,
thanks for having me. Yeah.
Welcome, welcome, Dougie. Fortunately, you're outside, so no feedback.
Welcome.
You must be busy as fuck right now.
Yeah, man. It's probably the most exciting time of the year for us. You know what I mean? And it's definitely the biggest show we've ever put on. So never mind, like, you know, the competition itself is all being put together right now, and that's it's a lot of work, man. This year we did have everybody package their own entries, which I felt like was a more professional approach. Typically when we're breaking down entries, when you have volunteers doing it or people doing breakdown, you know, if somebody's weighing out a lot of 0.1s, maybe they weigh out a 1.2, and then the whole fucking competition's off. So, like, you know, for me to make sure everybody gets a taste of each entry, to actually properly judge it, when the last previous years there's always been like some doubles in the kits or like some fuck ups or something, you know what I mean, just from like human error. But this year, when people are like, you know what I mean, they're packaging it, so if it's short, they just make that extra shit up, so the competition is actually on point, you know. Like, there's no shortness of entries, and plus now, you know, people feel more comfortable with us not manhandling their entries or whatever, them being able to be more in control. You know, we had a lot more. What did you say?
I was just saying, less things to bitch about. Usually when people lose these events, they go off on all the different things. Oh, fucking, I'm pretty sure they handled my shit wrong, and I don't think it was. There's all these crazy, awesome excuses. Whereas the same people.
Man, exactly, bro. Everybody wants to be very critical about, you know, every part of it, man. And that's part of growing a competition, you know. So.
Yeah, well,
comes with the territory and shit.
So, let's ask you a couple questions, Dougie. This is your second year doing Chalice?
Third, I thought.
This is the third year doing Chalice. And this is the first year we're doing it at this new location due to some errors with and problems with the old location. So.
No, I think I hope it works great. And, you know, who do you have headlining this year? What can you tell us a little bit about the show?
Yeah, Wu-Tang Clan is headlining on Saturday night. We have the band Cake headlining on Friday night, and then Migos headlining Sunday night after the award ceremony. So, you know, it's a much this is the most expensive lineup we've ever had. This is the most we've ever put into a festival as far as production and just the experience. I feel like a lot of these other events are putting in bare minimum, and this is an opportunity for me to. I see the vulnerability with these other events in their business plans where they're putting in. They want to take out the most. Where really I'm raising the money to throw the show from the ground up, and I'm throwing the show I wanted these other shows to be. So. You know what I mean? I take pride in what I'm doing, and year 3 we've definitely learned a lot from our mistakes. I'm definitely want to learn from others' mistakes, but sometimes have to fuck up myself to really get it. And this year I feel a lot more the most confident I've ever been with the competition. My problem with all these other competitions is that they're not transparent. There's not you don't know how Green Wolf got first. You know what I mean? At high times. You're not sure of that. It's a little more vague. And at this year I'll be able to show everybody their statistics where if they're 7th, how that was determined. And that's something I've spent months trying to set up.
I think that an important factor is to keep your judges buffered from people. Don't let them interact with people. For instance, when I brokered Cannabis, people would bring over 10 or 20 packs, and they'd be like, oh, look at the crystals on it, man. Look how nice it is. Smell it. Squeeze it. Oh, my God. It's got the perfect cure and blah, 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 blah. And eventually I got to the point where I had to pull these guys aside, and I was like, listen, the money is endless. It's always going to keep buying weed. Just keep bringing weed, but you're not allowed to talk to me. I don't even want you being in the room when I'm looking at it because you're a salesman, and I know you can sell ice cubes to an Eskimo, and I don't need to buy ice cubes right now. I need to just look at this pot and decide on my own if it's good. I don't need an outside voice, particularly from the person trying to sell it to me, telling me how good it is and how crystally it is and what strain I used and this, that, and the other thing. And I think that these relationships at high times sometimes get a little cozy with the people who are judging. And I don't think that those judges should be able to talk at all, period. You give the samples to one group of people, and that group of people gives it to the judges, and they're judging now, and it's not this big interaction thing that people can sell people on shit, man.
There's no question, and I really respect Dougie for trying to actually bring a new.
Always will do shit for our fam and for our friends, the people that we're the closest for. I mean, I grew up in a police family. My whole family we're all cops. I get pulled over, they realize who I was. Ticket gets ripped up, you're on your way. And the police aren't the only group of people that do that. Everyone does that. We all take care of our own. So that is an important thing to buffer out of a competition, in my opinion.
Well, not only the competition,
Sure.
I was at Chalice last year, and one of the amazing things is all the glass. All the top glass blowers from around the world are represented, Dougie. How the hell did you herd those cats? Because you're talking a whole bunch of glass artists who can do whatever the fuck they want, wherever the fuck they want. So how do you get all them together?
Well, I mean, really, man, you put together a platform that's more of a celebration and not so much of a swap meet. That's my response back. These guys want something different. And I think we all do. We're sick of just the same, you know what I mean, this just going through the motions and shit. And this is a platform for people to meet. It's a celebration of glass pipes and the industry that I'm proud to be part of, and all these people are my peers and people I respect and collect personally, and to create a scenario where someone can come from the East Coast and meet all these people, just like I went to music festivals and met Steve Bates and all these other guys, you know what I mean? This is their opportunity to build it. And I'm really psyched on it, man.
You met Steve Bates at a music festival?
I did. I met Steve Bates. That's what I used to do before Hitman. Is I went and was vending also at different shows, and I would come in as a vendor so I didn't get searched. Blah blah blah. Or whatever. I met Steve. Steve was blowing glass, and I met another vendor that sold these glass, like basically like rave rattle type things. And Bates was set up blowing glass with him, and that's how I met him. So it was a very organic meeting of Steve, and the point is, like, they can create their own organic meeting of any of these people that they've looked up to, or even being able to shake someone's hand. For one of these guys, they're spending 5 figures on a pipe they make, dude. That's fucking huge for them. This is a fucking rock star to them. And I'm also trying to present these artists like they are rock stars, dude. And like, I'm proud of how we're presenting it and how much focus. We're the first music festival to actually put this much focus, and the right focus that people will be proud to be there behind. We're doing the actual industry. We're doing, you know what I mean? The amount of focus we're putting on it, I'm really proud of. So.
Absolutely, dude. It's definitely an amazing event. I think having D-Rex in your corner is very good for you as well.
Oh my God, dog! Like, that's the biggest blast. Yeah.
Yeah, I got to give D-Rex a shout out. This is a kid that I met 20 years ago with Slinger when Slinger and Lebo were hitchhiking on the side of the road to head up to a music festival, Fish at the Gorge. I happened to pick them up hitchhiking, and that's how I created a relationship with those guys. And they would come up from Bellingham because 40 minutes from Bellingham. They'd come up all the time, and that's how I met D-Rex. It's quite something because I have a lot of pictures of D-Rex when he was so young and like clean. He kind of had a little goatee, but he had very curly hair, and he's so different now. It's neat to see the evolution of where everyone ends up. Great guy. Nice to see that he's not.
Dude, Derek is an unbelievable guy. Yeah, man. I'm so blessed to know Derek. And honestly, the Glassblower Village wouldn't be anywhere near what it is without all of Derek's help and all the energy he puts into it. And Derek's one of those guys in this industry who's been there for me as a friend. You know what I mean? Like, through thick and thin, dude. And I can really say, like, you know, in this industry, bro, there's seasonal people or people who are like, oh, show up in your life when you got good things going, but when you're having a hard time, ain't nobody there for you. Derek's been there for me the entire fucking time, man, and I'm proud to have that dude in my life, and I'm real blessed to have him in my life. So.
Yeah, I sure enjoyed having him in my life in the early years, for sure. I would say the same thing. Derek and I have been through thick and thin, and he was always just as solid could be. So yeah, I definitely think that every time I see him talking about Chalice and promoting it and gathering his energies, I'm always thinking like, yeah, Dougie, that was a good move getting D-Rex involved, because he is definitely putting a good amount of energy to make it exactly the vision that you guys have. I'm in the same boat. You know, from day one, I wanted these guys to stop. You know, they're blowing in garages with like really self-made exhaust hoods, and it was just super like borderline like squeegee, squeegeeville, like the guys on the side of the street squeegeeing windows. When I met these guys, that's why when Slinger and I first threw the Degenerate Art Show, you know, we put a lot of fucking time and energy and money into this gallery, hundreds of thousands of dollars, in fact, just to bring it to a point where people would walk in and they were like, "What do you sell here? It looked like, do you sell jewelry?" Or it was so high end and nice, and what we sold was high end glass pipes. And that Degenerate Art Show in 2003, I believe, was Degenerate Art. In 2004, we did Regenerate Art. And then, of course, Slinger went on to do his documentary by the same name, Degenerate Art, which was going back to Hitler again. Hitler had did an art show called Degenerate Art in the 40s or the late 30s to show particular artists in a negative light. And they created a gallery setting where there was art, but then there was like dog shit on the ground and garbage and spray paint, and it was made to look like it was degenerate art. So, of course, leave it to Slinger to flip that over and be like, let's use that title, and we'll call it the Degenerate Art Show. And this was right after Operation Pipe Dreams, when it was kind of scary. You know, these guys were all blowing glass because they weren't really, you know, a lot of them were still involved in different things, but a lot of them were like, yeah, glass blowing, this is my way of, like, I can just make a legal living. This is what I'll do. And then all of a sudden, you know, Operation Pipe Dreams, and it's like, guess what? That's not legal. That was a scary time for glass blowers in America. Really scary time. And
no, and hey, those people paved the way, man. You know, They definitely paved the way for this, for you know, me to be able to sell pipes, interact with these head shops, and you know, follow our dreams. I mean, none of that would have ever been possible if it wasn't for all those fucking original dudes in the fucking movement, you know. And I got a lot of respect for those guys, and it's an honor to have a lot of them at the show. So.
Absolutely. Well, I think you do good by them, Dougie. You know, the ability to move and sell the glass was never one of their strong points, and I say there as a generalization going back from the 90s. Blowing glass, you could go on tour, you could go hit lot. There was a few different places you could sell glass, but you know, I always felt the same way. I sold their glass just to help them out. I was like, I can sell things. So when I met Slinger and I would photograph his glass, and Lebo and all these other guys, Marcel and Pedro and Zach, I would just photograph their glass and put it online. That was about it. But it's important that they have, you know, this sort of relationship where they're this extreme artist type on this side, but then there's also like what you do, the organization and the marketing and the getting it out there. And I know you take a lot of flack, bro, and I just want you to know that I defend you often, and I defended you even today and shut some motherfucker up hard and fast. Just hating for absolutely no reason. Generally, usually even worse.
Yeah, and I mean, at the end of the straight up, dude, you know what time it is, man, and I haven't seen you in a while. It's been a sec since we got to chill, you know. But I mean, yeah, you know, I'm not going to change anything about who I am and what I do and why I'm here, you know. And I'm here because I love pipes, or I wouldn't be doing this. I'd be doing something else. And if I was trying to get rich on glass pipes, I would be running a completely different business plan. And, you know, I've been vulnerable. I've worked with a lot of other, you know, bong companies, dude, and I'm a pipe designer, you know, and I've taken a different approach on the entire industry. And for that, I've got a lot of criticisms. But, you know, my response is I have almost 20 people who work for me. You know what I mean? I pay my taxes. They pay their taxes. I pay their health insurance. I'm proud of the jobs I provide all of these people. They're all here in the United States, you know, and I'll never change that business plan. I am one of the most knocked off pipe companies out there. And for that reason, I get a lot of criticism. And somebody who looks at shit face value will look at a fucking DH Gate knockoff of my pipe and think that's mine is fucking obnoxious. You know what I mean? Like, yep. Dude, that's a ripoff of my idea, you know? And, like, I've designed a lot of things that have become mainstream, you know? And we've got a lot of criticism, you know, just because I'm such a target. Yeah. And, hey, dude, I'm not going to slow down. You know, I'm going to keep moving forward. I got a whole new line we're releasing at Chalice. I'm proud of my company. There's a lot of haters out there that are ignorant. Again, I'm not going to change my tune, change what time it is, you know? And like,
it's insane. It's
yo,
fun.
Dog, you know I'm a hashtag person. So.
The more success you create for yourself, the more waves you make. You want to, the person in this room who gets more hate than you and me, like times 7, is Skunkman Sam. You should hear the shit that's made up about him, bro. You can't even, it's so delusional that we actually laugh about it together sometimes.
Okay, I'll tell you the truth. I do own most of the shares of Monsanto.
And then he says shit like that.
And then they take it out of content, and then that's it. Now everyone thinks that. That's what they heard.
Yeah, I don't know.
Well, I'm gonna cheers, Doug. I got a Hitman. I got an old school rig here. This is one of the first ratchets you guys did with E. I'm gonna smoke some OG, some California OG in honor of Dougie.
No, that's awesome, dude. And I know the real homies got mad support for us, dude. And yo, we're from the ground up. I'm here because I'm a weed person. You know what I mean? I'm a hash person. That ain't gonna change. I mean, there's a lot of bad fucking people out there, dude. People want to channel their negative energy towards people they're jealous of or people they're envious of and all that shit. Dude, and truth is, dude, success looks really nice to me. You know?
You're doing mad shit, bro.
Fuck it, bro. Like, I'm
Hey, welcome, Fletcher. Fletcher just rolled into the group. I find that it's incredible that people can criticize people that are doing such incredible work. They're putting, it's like, oh, they're getting pipes available to people. Oh, he's capitalizing off art. It's like, holy fuck, well, people want pipes, don't they?
Well, not only art, you're innovating. So you're the one, this is a direct, this is a Hitman
That's an
torch
awesome
tube.
piece.
I love this piece,
Dude.
and it'll be there with me at Chalice. But how did you come up with the idea for the torch tube?
That's actually a Steve Bates idea. Steve Bates, like I said, I met him on tour on Lot, and you know, I started buying his glass and a lot of his friends' glass, and he was designing pieces for Hitman at the time. He designed, you know, there was a ratchet perk that he designed, and we were using the turbine, really turbine to market back in 2011 or whatever, 2010, and you know, but Steve always had these profound ideas, and that's one of the main reasons why I love pipes so much. It's because of Steve Bates, dude, and it's awesome. His ideas to think outside the box and do shit differently, man, and that's why I love this shit, and that's why I'm creative now and trying to be creative on my own. Is all inspired by him. You know, and I was able to help be a catalyst to bring the torch tube to market and to create and orchestrate collaborations with people, you know, and like none of those torch tubes would ever have even fucking happened if we hadn't orchestrated that shit, you know.
And not only that, dude,
and there probably would be like
a lot of the Steve Bates concepts and ideas, like I had met him earlier, just some years earlier, maybe around 2008 when I started Full Melt Glass, and he used to come in there and he'd blow glass on our live video chat, and he was, I mean, the guy was incredible what he could blow. He'd come in, one time he came in and I remember he literally drank about 30 beers in about 5 hours and blew glass the whole time. He was just like drinking beers and blowing glass. Just a totally wild dude, really neat character, but coming up with, I mean, for me personally, the seals and the concepts that he was coming up with, the last time I had met a glassblower that was doing stuff like that was Jason Lee. Jason Lee was always just out there coming up with, he learned that double bubbler seal and then showed Slinger and then showed a group of people, and that's how that double bubbler came to be, because he shared that simple, you know, process that if he didn't, you know, it would have delayed the, it's radical openness, guys. You got to share your ideas, but at the same time, it's important in this industry that when you have a very artistic person like Steve Bates, that someone like Doug can come and harness that energy and give it a bit of direction, because, man, the stuff I saw Steve Bates do in those 4 years, and none of it came to fruition. He would just do it, forget about it, do it, forget about it, do it, forget about it. He was on to the next thing.
That's the thing. Dude, that's the point. Steve will do one thing that's profound that could change the whole industry and then move on to some other shit. And that's the thing, man. And I saw the turbine. It's like, dude, this is like the coolest thing I've ever seen, man. We have to do this. I felt compelled to do that. And somebody could look at it like I'm capitalizing on Steve Bates, but Steve Bates got paid on all that shit, dude. Steve Bates got paid on every fucking torch tube. And if I continue to make torch tubes, and we are going to get back to making them, Steve Bates will continue to get a royalty on every single piece, because I'm a man of honor, you know what I mean? And I would never try to steal someone's idea and not pay them. That would never be something I do. Hey, I got to grab my power cord. Stay real quick. Let me run and grab it real fast.
So what's going on with Fletch? Did you open up a shop?
That's what I wanted to know.
Yeah, I saw like a post. He's super low key. Hey, he's definitely not like.
He's like, oh, I'm at the border. I'm slinging clones and something. I don't know the whole details, but he's moving something. What are you moving, dude?
Yep. Can you guys hear me?
Perfectly.
Cool. Yeah. Opened a shop in Portland. Took way longer than it should, and finally got through all the legal loopholes and you know, flaming hoops they throw at you. You got to jump and jump twice as high half the time. So it's definitely not a fun process, nor is it cheap. But we're open, and we've got you know, pretty much anything that the heady connoisseur is really into, including, you know, certified clean clones, everything.
Hey, what's the name of your shop, and what's the location so people can come to you?
It's Archive Portland. We're in southeast Portland, right off the 205. It's 10645 Southeast Henry Street. It's kind of off the beaten path. Got a big parking lot, so it's convenient for people to come park instead of looking for parking and getting a parking ticket.
Well, congratulations, my friend. I know the process, and hats off to you. Couldn't happen to a better guy. Are you doing your clones? Are you like or are you doing other people's stuff? I'm just curious if like how you're getting your genetics out there, or if you're not.
No, a lot of it's seed phenotypes pre-selected. So we have like rude boy cuts, shark bite cuts, all kinds of different hybrids, stuff that we selected, and then we have the seeds too if you want to, play with it all yourself and vice versa. And then a lot of it too is being able to provide other producers with high quality full melt genetics that are clean, not dudded out. They're certified clean by a lab and a botanist. So
genetics.
Yeah, so we have a lot of like sour diesel, Gorilla Glue, just because they wash real well, form cookies, those types of things.
Yeah.
So your genetics that you're providing are actually geared up for full melt.
Yeah, a lot of them are. I mean, a lot of it's just for flavor too. I mean, as I've said many times, I'm a flavor junkie, so I just select for flavor more than anything. In my experience over the last 12 years, it's very, very rare that I would find a variety that has all the smell, all the flavor, and then I smoke it and I'm like, well, this stuff has zero potency. I mean, I can only think of a handful of things that were like that. I mean, HP 13 would have been a good example of that. Tons of smell, tons of flavor, really no punch. There's a handful of stuff like that, but it's really rare. And to be honest, I'd rather have HP 13 than, some no-smell hash plant or something.
True enough.
Not that hash plant's nothing wrong with it, but I definitely like good smell and flavor. The more unique, the better. The more strong, the better.
Well, the more terps, the meltier the hash.
And
yeah.
HP...
Well, partially, I mean, also what we found too is when you have a variety that has almost no terpenes to it, that usually makes really, really melty hash too, because the trichome is just THC. There's basically nothing else in there, and if it doesn't have a real thick casing, or the stalks break off really easy. I mean, a perfect example is I had a skunk #1 white rhino hybrid 10 years ago that, I mean, from dry trim, it washed so good it always looked like fresh frozen, and it wasn't a very odoriferous variety at all. But I mean, back then we weren't dabbing like onto hot nails. It was just a screen with a lighter, and you'd have to put 2 screens down and it'd still melt right through with no char. So it was melty, that's for sure.
And what was wrong with HP 13? Was it low in THC, low in terpenes? What did it have CBD?
Well, I never got it tested, so I can't tell you like a cannabinoid profile where it either has a deficit or a positive. I really don't know. But it was a very greasy strain, and I was talking about this the other day with another friend of mine. So for varieties that are really hard to wash or seem to produce nothing at all, particularly the really, really terpy ones, I was thinking, why is it that they won't wash? Well, some of the terpenes won't freeze at 32 degrees. They have a much lower freezing point. So if your ratio of terpenes to THC, let's say the terpene ratio is potentially not too high, but higher than it would allow the trichome head to solidify when it's cold, you may have a really difficult time washing it because it won't actually harden up. Now, I'm just theorizing here. I don't know.
Yeah, because it doesn't matter whether the head completely freezes or not. All you care is that it can break off easily.
Right, but if it's full of terpenes to the point that it basically bursts and it doesn't harden enough that it stays at least somewhat solid, that's like, if you try and wash cherry pie fresh frozen or something like that. The water smells great. There's tons of resin in there, but you pull the bags and there's nothing left. So where did that resin go? I don't know.
Well, I think he's talking about also on a fresh frozen Skunkman, whereas you're, every time I've talked to you, you're used to curing out those heads. So if the walls are very thin and the heads are very big and they're full of terpenes and you're taking fresh frozen, chances are they don't have time to cure, create that hardening effect, so they snap off at the stalk, and whatever terpenes are in them are a little bit more I guess you would be contained in the way that that head is formed over 2 or 3 months of curing. So I know what he's.
I understand exactly what you're talking about, and I agree. I've had like haze varieties that also just remain greasy even after you've dried them for 2 weeks and then box cured them for another 3 months. But they were still, I mean, if you put them in a plastic bag, they just smeared on the side of the plastic bag.
Exactly. You end up with a plastic bag that looks like you put super glue on the inside.
Exactly. It's fucked up because that's not what you want.
Well, yeah. How do you get it back? And that's a big issue. And like Tony was saying, I think it's even more apparent, that issue with fresh frozen. But I also find it with dry trim with varieties that won't produce, like you're saying, Sam. You know, you have nice dry trim. It's been drying for 3 weeks at 65 degrees, 55%. It's well dried and cured, but you know, you trim it over a screen and you don't get any resin, and you take another variety that's right next to it, do the same trimming process, and there may be a huge pile of resin underneath your trimming screen. So it's just things that I've noticed. I don't have any concrete answers as to why or why not. Other than, like you're saying, I think it's just too greasy, and potentially, you know, when you're washing things or dry sifting, you know, THC is pretty solid once you get under about 65 degrees. So if you have trichome heads that are very potent as well as very terpy, they may potentially be easier to pull out, because when you do lower the temperature, the THC is going to harden and somewhat solidify a very terpy resin head, that where if the THC percentage were much lower, you don't have that other THC to kind of stabilize the whole resin head. And that, you know, going back to what you were asking with the HP13, is I think it was just really low potency, very high terpene content, and just had difficulties washing because it was hard to get the trichome to become, not necessarily stable being the right word, but just solid enough to work with, and not, like you're saying, smear or just grease or just even feel like oil. I mean, there's certain, the HP13, when you touch the resin, it wasn't sticky. It didn't feel sticky. You'd kind of rub your fingers. It felt like it made your fingers slicker, like an oil, like an actual grease. And it was, you know, there's varieties. It's interesting.
Yeah, and that brings you up to when you're breeding for THC and terpene traits, there'll probably be a threshold, especially for when if you're going to wash resin or do dry sift. Each cultivar that you start breeding for, you know, I'm sure there'll be a threshold. Like, you can't have X amount of percentage of terpenes in those trichome heads if you're going to do that particular type of extraction.
Yeah,
you know?
I mean, one thing, now that I have to get everything tested for the store, I'm getting a little bit more data back on what what a lot of the varieties are. And so I grew some seeds recently. It was a Lemon G TK Stardog cross. It was probably 2 years ago that I grew them and then selected the phenos. And I selected 2 phenotypes, have a relatively similar terpene profile and concentration per gram according to the lab. But one, it tests at 25 to 27% THC, and the other one's down at like 18%. The one that's 18% doesn't wash, doesn't keef, doesn't do anything. It's just straight grease, right? The one that's 27%, same hybrid, same parents, relatively speaking, the same smell, but 10% more THC, washes great, washes excellent.
Was there CBG
even from
in there?
dry trim.
Was there CBG in there, Fletch?
No, it does have 0.27 CBD, I think, is what the what we call the 1 star, or the lemon peel, and then we have the other one that's the 3 star, and that's the greasy one that doesn't really provide resin, but it's still very odoriferous, dank smoke as a flower. You just can't process it.
But no CBG?
I did not see any CBG on the lab results, so.
Okay.
But we're using a lab down in Portland, and you know, we've talked many times about, until you've gotten enough data from one lab, it's hard to know where everything sits. You know, I mean, we just had some 1 star rosin tested that was made from 73 micron bubble, in the same lab that all of my flowers, OG Kushes and every clone-only strain and everything, was between 18 and 27%, so nothing excessively 35%. But we got the rosin tested at the same lab. It was 97% THC. So
THCA, right?
I have the lab result. I can post it. It's I'll have to. I think it was 94 or 95% THCA, and then there was like 2 or 3% or 2% or whatever the remainder was in THC Delta 9, and then there was like 0.2 or 0.3% CBD.
Somebody divided by the wrong number.
I don't know. That's what I'm saying. It's like either, I mean, it was made from bubble, and it was really, really good bubble that it was made from. But
you said 1 star.
What's that?
Did you say 1 star?
The strain is called 1 star because of the labeling mix-up, and it's also the closest.
You made rosin from
great hash.
Okay, I just wanted to clarify because I thought you said you made rosin from 1 star that tested 97%.
No. It was made from like 4.5 to 5.5 star, 73 micron.
You know what? They don't have a 1 star. It's just called flower.
Right. Well, if your flower's really good, technically it is 1 star because it's more hash than most people's.
Hey, I got a question for Dougie about the Chalice event. Are people able to like show up and vend cannabis products like hashes and oils and buds and stuff, or is that still like we're waiting to get there?
Yeah. Oh yeah, absolutely, man. It's I have been very open with. We had a meeting with the sheriff department. They've been compensated, whatever you say, for us doing it there. They're aware of the medical marijuana thing, and they're welcoming to it, man. I mean, ultimately, there's really not much going on out there. This is probably the largest thing that's happened in the high desert in a long time for these people. It's a large source of revenue. All the hotels are packed. So, I mean, yeah, man, it's going to be one of those things where it's definitely comfortable. People are openly going to be, I mean, what it is, it's for donation. It's just like in California, there's no retail sales of cannabis at all in California. There is patient-to-patient donation. And, like, there's a lot of signage throughout our whole festival that says that kind of shit. But it's really the same kind of thing as any High Times event in California or something. It's very open, and you know, we just need to make sure that people have the right credentials and all that. And us going the extra mile to make sure that nobody underage can get in the medicating area, all those responsibilities are pretty serious, you know, as a festival is concerned. And yeah, I mean, bro, we have some of the biggest and best companies out there. I mean, shit, Mark, you know, I would have loved for you to come out, you know, whatever. There's always next year.
Well, but, Tony keeps telling me that he might go out, so Tony's repping my brand down there, and we've been talking about it.
Tony, holler at me, dude, after this. We'll get on a call and get it figured out. I mean, it's important that as many, you know, people that are really part of this shit are there for me. I mean, you'll see when you go to my show, I'm all about showing respect to my elders and people who paved the way in this shit. And, like, hey, man, like, there's a lot of these little shows that have some IG superstar judging, and like I'll read my list off, and I've got a very respectable list, you know what I mean? And on my thing here, man, I'm not playing around. I got people who I feel are overqualified, and in this industry, there's a lot of overqualified people, and honestly, like everybody's overqualified in their own way. But I try to mix.
Hey Doug, what's the date and where is it located?
The dates of Chalice Festival are July 8th, 9th, and 10th in Victorville, California. And yeah, it's we have a pre-party on the 7th at the same location. It's 3 full days of music. We have 350 vendors or something of that nature, different companies, a lot of the bigger companies from Los Angeles. And from California in general. People have come from all over the place. So we have people coming internationally. It's going to fucking rage, man. I'm so excited. I can't even express it, dude, you know.
How many entries do you have for the contest, Dougie?
Okay, so this is a funny one. Ironically, we have the least amount of non-solvent entries, and a good amount of rosin. So it seems like everybody just pressed their non-solvents, this year. Which is, I mean, and whatever. I mean, we have 10 plus non-solvents. Whatever. It's still the fact that there's more rosin than anything else. There's a lot of solvent. There's almost like 80 something solvent. This is something I wanted to bring up in Hash Church here is the DQing of solvent entries for parts per million. I'd love to hear your guys' feedback here. Each state has a different cutoff. California, I mean, there's really no legal parameter here, but I mean, I say 400, 500, 400 or something is what I heard from like Berkeley Patients Group or something is what their cutoff is. I've heard in Colorado rumors that it's upwards of 800 or something.
Are you talking about pesticide? Pesticide? What are you talking about?
I'm talking about parts per million for the solvents. I'm talking about like what should be, like the stuff that was processed with solvent. Okay, I'm DQing shit that's over 400 parts per million.
Yeah, 500
like
ppm
out of the
was
competition.
The Colorado cutoff, I believe. 500 ppm for butane. If you look
400 on our competition.
What labs are you using, Doug?
I use Xcii Labs this time, and we did a full test of everything. Any test you could do on any of these entries, we are doing. I got a 6-figure bill with these fucking people. It's not a joke. I'm sparing no expense when it comes to making sure that the testing is on point this year. And hey, people have arguments about Xcii Labs, whatever. I've had a personal great experience with them. Labs in general, everybody has their opinion on that shit, but as far as professionalism, Xcii Labs has been great with me and with Chalice Festival and been very kind, and they've gone above and beyond for us, man. And
hey, Doug, can I ask a question?
Again, we pay for
when a sample fails, is there a second test to make sure that it's repeatable? Do you know?
Oh yeah, absolutely. So we give them 2 grams for testing. So that enables them to run a retest for a confirmation. I mean, people are investing a lot of fucking money in this competition.
Right.
And I know what time it is with that. I'm part of this industry. I understand how much this shit costs when you're running top-notch shit and you're trying to be competitive. And it's not a joke, and that's why I don't charge additional money for entry. I charge $710, and then you can enter as many times as you want, in as many categories as you want, for the purpose where I don't have to charge $1,000 per, and I mean, it's like, I'm not over to how much the people who are making it, like that's not where I'm making money on the festival. Like I'm investing $750,000, $800,000 on music, and hopefully I'll get a return based on that. You know what I mean? It really has nothing to do with
just to give people
the hash tags.
Just to give people a perspective, High Times charges $2,000 per sample. Per sample.
Right. That's serious.
So, I'm over here not taking in that revenue, and I'm raising this shit from the ground up. Like, I'm able to I started Chalice with 0 money, gentlemen, and the weird thing is everybody thinks I might have more money than anyone here, and it's actually the contrary. I never really started with any money. I put my heart and soul into these things. I've raised the money to throw the Chalice Festival from the ground up. I'm still short. I'm still selling booths to try to pay for everything. All ticket sales goes to the fucking tent vendor, security, or whatever, So it's like, it's got heart in it, dude. No matter what anybody says about it, and that's why I'm so passionate about what I'm doing. Is because I'm fucking doing it for the right reasons, no matter what anybody has to say. And if it was to be profitable, which it hasn't, and I'm in the red with Chalice Festival over $500,000 as of right now, like from the previous years, which people probably don't understand either, but that's a real reality check. I'm truly in it for the right reasons. If I was trying to run a for-profit fucking scenario that was crazy, I'd be charging you guys $1,000 an entry, and people would pay it because they're used to paying it. But I don't need to do that shit. because I'm more about this shit than anything, and about the hash and the people behind it. You know what I mean? So
I had a question on the first and foremost, for those on like the Instagram and social media, I see myself tagged every once in a while with posts for Chalice. So I just want to make sure everyone understands I am going, and it'll be my first year. And I apologize for not reaching out earlier. We're both like super busy, but it's everybody that's watching. We've known each other.
You might be one of those guys that might be a little. Yeah, I'll put you on as a judge, honestly, bro. You're one of those guys.
But yeah, we've known each other a long time. A lot of people don't know we've known each other a long time, like maybe 6 years or so. But I had a question on the entries. What was the when people were entering? They were entering 0.1. How many 0.1s? Like, so maybe that's why the non-solvent.
Yeah, man.
The non-solvent was a little difficult. So are you asking them to package 0.1 gram of like full melt?
No, absolutely not. So I'll go over the breakdown a little bit, just so people understand, like, you know, how different our event is and what it entails. So for the 7 and 10 Cup and for the first 2 years of Chalice Festival, I took care of all of the breakdown for all of these entries, which really facilitated it being much easier for a hash maker to just throw slabs at me or a jar of fucking bubble, you know? And what ultimately happened then is again what I was kind of saying before with the shortness, after weighing shit. The problems of breaking it down is really intricate weighing out process to enable everybody to actually get a taste of it. So what we do is we sell a portion of public judge kits, and then we have a private judge panel. So, you know, what we do is we value the public and the private opinion, which I believe to be important. Public perception and public opinion says something about our industry, period, if you want to value it or not. And then there's the people that are overqualified that I also value and take into consideration. So what for solvents, it's the most elaborate breakdown. There's 202 0.1s that are weighed out because there's 202 public judges. That means that there's 200 and something people that get a taste of each solvent entry. So the reason I did that is because, look, man, stoners are fucking, they're awkward, they're stoned at these shows, they want to go try your entry. Who's to know if you even have a little bit of your entry for them to try or whatever? Bottom line is, at all these shows, you never get to taste any entry. At my show, you do. And that's what's different. So this elaborate breakdown is for a reason, you know, and like it seems a little crazy at first, but 202.1s for solvent, basically it's 32 grams that get taken in of any hash. Now, I know that's a lot to ask for melts and top shelf shit, dude. That shit's expensive as fuck. I understand. You know, I got a lot of friends that wash fucking hash on a regular basis and all that shit. You know, I'm around it all the time, so I get how much that shit costs, you know.
Or how hard it is.
So it's 200. Or hard it is to even get that much out of one batch. We all know what that is. So, you know, there's 202.1s. There's 26 private judges for solvent. They get a 0.3. And then the rest goes, there's 2 grams that go for the display, 2 grams for the fucking laboratory, and that's it. Everything's accounted for. So, like, you know, I deal with a lot of people being like, oh, it's Dougie's hash grab of the year. Dude, I got more than enough hash all the time, bro. I don't need to take anyone else's. It's funny how people insinuate that shit with this kind of thing. You can only laugh, you know what I mean? Because I'm, like, trying to, the most prestigious thing right now. We put so much in. Like, it's just, that's one of those things. But long story short, you know, solvent's the most elaborate breakdown. All the other private judges for, like, non-solvent category get a half gram to a gram of each, you know, and there's less of those. So, you know, there's 20 public judges for non-solvent to get a half gram. So, you know, the non-solvent breakdown, the rosin breakdown, all those were much easier. Flour came to me and I broke it down. Flower is something I can easily feel a lot more confident breaking down than shatters and sap or CBD sap that I need to accurately weigh out fucking 200 something 0.1s. There's bound to be a 0.12, you know, and then the whole fucking competition's up. And man, it's just such a logistical nightmare that we're jumping into here. And for the first couple of years, we absorbed all that, and people didn't appreciate it until this year, where I was like, look, man, I've had too many errors. You guys break this shit down. And at that point, a lot of people, they complained at first, and then they were like, you know what, we wanted to break it down, because they're able to give a 0.2 to the public judges if they want. It's in their hands. They got that slab on deck. They're able to make it fucking right and make sure it's all straight. And now the whole competition's straight. Like, I can say for the first year ever, Chalice competition's straight, you know? And, like, there's always been these little holes in the shit, and we're finally, like, fixing those holes, you know? And we spent months trying to make sure that there's checks and balances for each part of this thing. And, hey, man, what a logistical nightmare.
Yeah, hey, last year I did the photos for your flowers, and I was wondering how big will the entries be that I'm photographing for you this year? What size are the? What
for
size
flower, oh yeah, basically you'll be photographing a 1 to 2 gram sample of each flower. I think the photography you'll get a private judge kit, so it's a little more of a sample. Yeah, I just want to make sure it's all documented correctly.
I look forward to it.
Again, man, I mean,
last year there was 62 bud samples I shot for you last year, and it was cool.
I think it's something of that nature this year. Like it's something like that, and I think it's almost 70. And again, because we didn't facilitate it being so easy. It's not really about it being easy. It's about it being right with the competition, and everybody wants to do it lazy and shit. And just because, I would rather have 80 solvent entries that people did correct, because this is a big part of this shit. If you can't accurately package some shit, how the fuck do you think I'm supposed to trust what you made? Real shit. If you can't follow fucking simple instructions, how are you gonna fucking be able to make, you know what I mean? Like, and that's like some of the best hash makers might not be able to follow instructions. It's a tough one, but bro, in my opinion, that's a big part of it. It says something. If you come to me and you didn't read the instructions, it says something about your entry, And
that's a minimum.
Yeah, man, we have over 200 entries total. There's 200 something entries this year.
And like you said, that's a minimum. So you're not giving points for accurately weighing 0.1. But you know that that's what it's going to. So you could do a 0.15 or a 0.2 if you had it, because you keep the entries down as far as the cost. Makes sense.
Right. And that's what I said to the guys. I'm like, if you want to, I want to make it more reasonable. And this is my only other fucking real problem. If I'm raising the money for this show from the ground up, I'm charging people less money per entry, okay? How the fuck can I do this? And you've got some of these bigger corporations that are running such a fucked up business plan. They just pull everything out and putting the bare minimum into it to get away with it. You know what I'm saying? And that's not what I'm fucking about, man. I'm about fucking putting the maximum in to stand out. Nobody else is putting that extra energy into these events, dude. And they just want to run that same, set up the minimum, pull the maximum out. And I'm over that shit. That's not how this thing moves forward, and like events like this, there needs to be more events. Like, people are shocked when they hear how much money it costs to throw this festival. You know what I'm saying? And that's because, dude, they don't know a goddamn thing about booking Wu-Tang or something like that, bro. Like, that shit's a logistical nightmare too. So
Dougie, I'm really happy to see what you're doing. Obviously, I did the THC Expo way the fuck back in 2009, and I watched a lot of people take the idea and turn it into nothing more than a flea market. We spent $40,000 on green carpets for the weekend to rent, so that the aisles would be carpeted, so it looked like a legitimate show. And I was kind of heartbroken to see it, dragged out into parking lots and turned into just a shit show. And I'm really, one of the reasons why last year I was so supportive of what you're doing is it's the effort you're putting in to, like, represent the culture and to show what the culture can do, more than just you know, another fucking tailgate party, you know, trying to sling a bunch of shit where everybody's just trying to make money and split. And you know, we're all so sick of that. And it's so nice to see you, you know, bringing in quality music, quality acts, trying to, you know, represent. Like last year, people may not realize that you gave a Lifetime Achievement Award to Rob Clark, which I thought was super on point. I mean, this guy, for me as a grower, was one of the most pivotal authors in my career, you know, and with his books Hashish and more recently Cannabis, Evolution, and Ethnobotany, you know, there'll be syllabuses written around his latest book that will be taught in colleges. And I think it's cool that you're recognizing. And this year you're going to give Mel Frank the award you gave Rob Clark.
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
thought,
absolutely.
yeah, amazing. You know, I mean, these are the cats that were, you know, forever in the day contributing to High Times and the evolution of our thought. And then it's funny, High Times, you know, I don't think they've ever given Mel Frank an award. I mean, you know, as short-sighted as it may sound, you know, the guy was the first author I know of to write an article about how to grow pot in your New York apartment way the hell back in like 1971 for Rolling Stone. And it was his career that when he started writing is what inspired Ed Rosenthal to come and, you know, work with Mel Frank, and that's where the books first came out of. You know, so for you to represent, you know, recognize and give these elders some of the credibility that and show the youngsters in a way, you know, where they all came from, I think is fantastic.
Thank you, man. And hey, bro, like I'm trying to take pride in representing that this didn't come from this younger generation of people, you know, and that's a reality check for a lot of these people in their own world, thinking they're the you know what I mean? Like, hey, man, a lot of people that made it possible for me to even be a public cannabis advocate and be a face of cannabis, you know what I mean? A face of hash, a face of glass pipes. Like, hey, man, that shit didn't come overnight, and you know, I feel like.
Right, I think it's really cool of you to bring it up because there is a lot of ego in the industry now, and they have no real reason to be so egotistical whatsoever. 10 years ago, they were shining shoes comparatively, you know, to people that 40 years ago were writing books.
Right, who was the real all-star too? Even these guys now that have a 100-lighter that think they're fucking hot shit. Let's keep it real, man. The real hot shit dudes were the motherfuckers running that shit in the early 90s, them 100-lighters, you know what I mean? Yo, there's people who are way ahead of me on this shit. And like, hey man, I freak out when I'm fucking hanging out with fucking Greg over there in fucking Massachusetts and the homies from Chem and all these people. Like, bro, like, I'm starstruck. You know what I mean? Like, hey, bro, I got fucking weed celebrities in my life. Like, even fucking Mark, I'm like, oh shit, you know, like, yo. The fucking dudes are fucking. There's a lot of people in this industry I look up to, man, that have really paved the way for me to love pot the way I do and make it a career, you know. And yeah, man. So Chalice is a great opportunity for me to show that respect. So.
Well, props for doing it, Doug. Yeah, and the effort you're putting in to me, at least to me, who's someone who's done it, it's really obvious, and I applaud it. Everybody that's watching, you're gonna, after we do the photos, they're all gonna be on my Instagram. I'll post every single photo of every single entry for Dougie. Everyone can see what's going through. I think it's like a shared experience where we can learn from one another, and I think these competitions, if done right, can bring the bar to a higher level. I mean, I think Secret Cup did that in a really good way by bringing together the extraction artists and letting them see what each other was doing, and then they started residual testing, which you were just talking about, which brought the bar up even higher. It gave a better understanding of the materials that these people were putting out to the end users, and that benefited all of us. So I think it's fantastic, and then I think that you presenting a standard to the producers that they have to meet also brings the bar up. And you know, Tim Blake is doing it with the Emerald Cup this year. You know, last year they took down everything that failed, and this year he's saying, you better test your shit before you step to me because we're leaving it up if you fail. It's on you, not on us. And I think that that's good. The onus should be on the producer.
Let me say this. Hey, man. I'll say this. It's an awkward scenario, and I'll keep it 100%. So the testing's coming in, and people are failing for residuals and for molds and shit, you know? And I'm over here kind of like, oh, should I put these fucking people out? Like, hey, man. it's hard to look at it and be like, damn, should I put these dudes on blast? Because look, man, one batch of hash, one failing thing, like, yo, Moxie has to have failed some fucking tests, buddy. You know what I mean? My homies over at Gold Coast are failing fucking tests here and there. Yo, it happens to the best fucking producers out there. And, like, one test doesn't reflect on the entire company. We all could say that, hey, Mark could make some hash with fucking mold in it. Come on. Like, let's keep it real. Like, we got to be humble about that, you know? And that's the point. Like, everybody's so, like, holier than thou. Oh, put them on blast. Tell everybody what time. But you know what? Like, it's awkward when it comes to, like, look, what are we doing this for? Is that going to help them? Is it or not? I love to hear your guys' feedback on that. Because, like, look, man, do I fucking announce who's failing these tests and put them up and be like, look, this company failed all their tests? Like, that's kind of fucked up, man. Like, I don't know.
Well, like, there's two sides of it.
I don't know.
I think that you need to approach it up front with them like this. I mean, I think Tim Blake is doing a really good job of almost a year in advance saying, look, this is how we're redoing it. He's come on this program and said this is how we're redoing it. And I think that everybody understands that they got to test prior to turning it in. I think that if people are turning stuff into you that is coming back questionable, I think Mark Scialdone brought up a great point. You know, please double check it with another lab, you know, so that they don't get you know, a tarnish on their reputation where it's ill-deserved. But at the same time, I mean, it's really up to you. I mean, if you're putting you know, if you've laid down these rules and you stated, don't, you know, we are going to post all the entries. Yeah, but in a sense,
I didn't say anything about being public.
Then I would just disqualify him and say we can't use your entry and say sorry because you know, everything that qualifies will race. It's just like a car at a racetrack. You can show up with something that is basically overtuned or using ripped off parts, you know, that shouldn't be on that car in some ways. But the reality is you're going to get disqualified. You're not going to be able to race. And I think that's kind of what this is. You know, people can, you know, bring what they built, but if what they built fails your specific test, they're out of the race. They just get kicked to the curb.
They're not even part of the stats anymore.
And then I was like,
that's correct, Tony. They're not on the racetrack.
This is my next question too. Should those entries, now this is my policy right now, is I've stated that if you fail the test, your fucking entries get, if it's solvent or whatever, get made into distillate, and we're going to give it to fucking AIDS and cancer patients right here in the area. You know, that's part of entering. A lot of people are like, you should give it back. But we stated that. I'm not, again, like, the last thing I'm going to do is take some fucking failing test fucking hash for myself. Never mind take any hash out of the competition. You know what I'm saying? But you get my point. Like, do I
going to redistribute the stuff that fails, did you?
No, this is my question now. Now, this is, I've had all kinds, I want to hear the feedback from you guys. As of right now, I will not put the shit in the kit. Of course not. But I want to hear the feedback from you guys about certain people believe that it should be put in the kit and it should be stickered that it failed and the amount of ppm that it had on it.
I personally think it's like a race. It shouldn't be allowed on the track. I mean, if you have cars that have parts that you know will go faster than the other cars, they're not allowed in the race. And I think that it's not about putting stickers on the cars that say this dude's cheating that makes a fair or qualified race, because it's still going to distract people from all the samples that are qualified that you actually want them to put their attention on. I think that they should get bumped. I think, honestly, the samples should probably go right back to them and say, listen, we don't want moldy weed. You know, we don't want any of these things. We don't want moldy hash. We don't want any of your drama.
Well, I mean, of course, mold.
You don't keep the car.
I'm talking about ppm hash.
I would say no. I mean, I agree with Todd. I would say if it doesn't pass the testing, it doesn't belong in the kit. There's no need to bash people. They just will know that there won't be in the competition. End of story, you know. It's just not fair to the other competitors that have met the standards to accept those in the kit that don't meet those standards.
In all honesty, I would return the product to them failed and keep their entry fee as wasting your time and paying for the test. And I mean, that's the truth.
let them deal with you know, having to explain to their friends and all the people they told they were entering why they're not in it anymore. You don't have to say shit.
Yeah, exactly. You put it on them because you're saving them the embarrassment. You don't want to put it in a kit and say, hey, draw attention to it, this got a lot of ppm. You don't want to put it on your website and say this dude's got a lot of ppm. So what you do is you just eliminate it. This is like a fight. We showed up to a fight. I've been training for 6 months. I'm lean, I'm clean, I'm not testing with anything in my urine, I'm not testing with anything in my blood, and the guy shows up to fight me, and he's got dirty blood, he's got dirty urine. He's out of the fight. Give me someone else to fight. Somebody that's clean. You know?
Yeah, well put. I think that's really well put, man. Anybody else?
I had a question about, you know, one of the things that I'm always really inspired by is great food. I love eating great food with my friends, and these events often just don't have the great food. So I'm wondering what you guys at Chalice have done to kind of make up for that and make sure that there's great food so people can revive their spirits, as Michael Manning put it earlier in chat, with some yummy munchies.
Sure. Well, basically, I agree with you on the fact I think food is an element that hasn't really been incorporated enough into these cannabis events. I mean, we all like smoking, and, dude, we all like eating. Now, I mean, I'll say that I think that our food court alone, I think we're expecting to have 30 to 40 food trucks and different food vendors at our shit. It's a lot of different kinds of food, man. It's more like a food truck festival within our thing. You know, a lot of, I mean, it's going to be hot, so I'm dealing with a lot of different, like, you know, heady juices, you know what I'm saying? Like homemade juices, good, like the right vendor. Boba, teas, and shit, you know? But dude, again, I want to be a festival that people can hang out at. I have long ass hours at my festival, so you better be able as a vendor to eat, like have fun going to grub. You know what I mean? And not to mention that there's the lines are so fucking long at all these things for food that you're like, as a vendor, it's like unrealistic to even get in the fucking, you know what I mean? To like get in line and stay there. You're in there for fucking 45 minutes to get your food, like. And you're getting some fucking food truck food. So we hope that with 30 to 40 food vendors, we'll have shorter lines, more options, vegan and
Doug, you freeze up on me?
Yeah, he did freeze up.
All right, I wasn't sure. Because usually it happens and I just wait for a second. And then
To make sure it's not yourself freezing up.
Well, yeah, exactly. And then I saw Fletch moving. I was like, no, Fletch is moving. We'll get Dougie back in here to talk about it. It's definitely
refresh.
No, Mark, that was really a good question about asking about food, because typically these things are at, you know, fairgrounds where they have just typical food vendors in there that aren't serving always the best, most healthiest quality food. So that was a great question.
And I was amazed last year as the quality of food that was there, because needless to say, I've been to events in, 47 states. So their food selection and food trucks that they have were on point. I mean, we have around here in the Bay Area, we have food truck gathering spots where everyone can come in, and Dougie has really made sure that there's good food there, because not only is it just a good time hanging out, and on top of that, he gives you places to chill. I cannot stress enough how important it is to have tented areas where people can just sit down and just whip out their rigs and just get their chill on. He makes sure that's available, so that people can actually sit and be comfortable. On top of that, and the food was world class. I ate as good food as some of the hash that I smoked, and was surprised by the quality of the trucks and the food that were available. So on point with the food and the spot, for sure.
I just want to bring attention to the rest of the panel that it seems like I've been smoking excessively the entire time, And I haven't seen anyone else smoke anything.
Dude, are you kidding me? My bong's still smoking.
Okay. I have not seen anyone puffing down at all.
I have been totally puffing down the
Darrin,
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 let's do it. Bong rip. Bong rip.
Dude, you gotta get Darrin like somehow through like a recorder or something to yell bong rip at one point in time at Chalice. Just this super loud D420K voice going, bong rip, other lovers!
Message me, man, and I'll send you a few. No problem.
Didn't he do like a bong rip at that restaurant we went to like 8 times when we were in Toronto?
I'm certain of it.
At Lee's?
Well, I'm glad you're going to be there, Tony. It's definitely, I think, a good idea to represent at the biggest hash festival.
Well, that's what I was trying to tell you. You're like, oh, can you make it up for the event in Vancouver? I'm like, it's the exact same time as Chalice.
The next day, just show up for Sunday, bro. Don't come on, dude.
You can do it, Tony. Come on.
No expectations, Tony. Just, clone yourself, little asexual reproduction, send your other self up there.
No pressure.
Shit. He's going to clone
come on.
Asexual reproduction?
Technically, that's what we do with plants, asexual reproduction, yes.
Tony,
cuttings.
Choosing a rig. Choosing a rig. There we go.
Tony needs to little genes on himself and split out, but it's time to start hiring more people there, Tony, and train them and educate them and send them on their way now for the little Bubbleman army.
I'd like to give Dougie some props for actually torching the rig away from the mic so we can't hear it. That's fucking awesome.
Yeah.
Dude, respect, bro. Because he had it right there. He went to light it up, and then I saw him have the realization. He's like, what are you doing? Just go over here. This is easy enough. Torch can be loud. All right, everyone. Let's hit some bong rips, as Tony said. My bong is still smoking from the last rip I took, though.
I kept my eye on you. I definitely saw that you were smoking, but after my half-gram full melt bowl with the herb iron and the Hitman bowls and the 4 dabs, I had to say something.
I seen that you did the whole bunch. You did a bong rip when I had my sign up there earlier, and then I followed suit. So you can't cut me in there, man.
Fuck! I didn't even see that sign. I am.
Yeah, that's true. You were going off in the background. I just want to make sure everybody. I just want to make sure everybody was on the same level. I mean, that's why we came together.
I just
trying to promote consumption.
Yeah, I mean, just general promotion of consumption.
Ooh.
I find it better than just interrupting when I want to do a bong.
Greasy. That looks nice, Archive. You're muted.
It's fresh frozen tangy and sour diesel.
Oh, I bet you that's some citrusy fucking stuff.
So are you selling full melt as well?
Yeah, we don't have any on the shelf right now, but I have a whole bunch of rosin from Bubble.
1 star?
And, we'll have a drop of some sour-D Bubble next week.
Sweet.
So
that pretty much looks like this, but it's still granular. And this is all freeze-dried, too.
Nice.
I'm coming up there like Thursday or so to Portland and Eugene area.
Cool. Hit me up.
I will. Finally making it up there.
Ooh,
yeah, it's expanding rapidly.
I like it.
Yeah, Oregon's awesome, man. Yeah, Oregon is beautiful, bro. I'm getting there because I think we start a recreational permit. So
yeah, we're open for recreational too. So the recreational purchase limits are like 7 grams a day, 4 clones until the end of the year, and like 50 seeds or 50 seeds a day. I can't remember. And then medical is whatever the medical limit's, like 24 ounces and something like that. And you can actually, just for people that don't know, you can actually get your Oregon medical license even if you're not a resident of Oregon. So you can
get one.
Yeah. Right. So you can go there, and it's a little bit more involved process. than a lot of the other states, and I think it's about $400 probably. But you can be a resident of California and be a medical grower or patient in Oregon. So
what about a Canadian?
I think potentially, I'm not sure. I'd have to look it up.
Well, I have to say, I'm very happy that the first time I cross the border in close to 20 years will be into Washington, a state that actually allows for cannabis to be sold. Because I haven't been down there in a long time. This waiver thing is you got to sign up a lot of things. Like there's a lot of different documents you need to get in line before you can apply for a waiver to go down into the U.S. So I'm very much hoping that that mine works out in the near future and I'm able to come down, next year for Chalice, to actually be there myself, to come down and visit you guys. Well, first to visit the people I know in Washington, and then head into down into Oregon and eventually California. I'm super excited to get down there.
Yeah, feel free to stop by and we'll smoke you out tough.
Yeah, I have not been to Portland since, I don't even know, like maybe it was like 98, like on Fish Tour or something.
It's completely changed. I mean, like the feel of the town is still really cool, but there's good food. All the neighborhoods are getting gentrified for the most part, and it's not. It was pretty seedy back in the day.
Yeah, I went there when it was seedy, and my buddy lived like across from a Safeway on like Hawthorne Street, and I remember we got all high, and then all of a sudden it was like a cop pulled someone over out in front of his house, and he started like hiding all his shit, getting down on the ground, like don't let him see you that you're in the house. I was just like, I was like not used to this level of paranoia. I was really I would have been like 96 maybe or 97. I met the dude at an Allman Brothers concert. He was a great guy, but man, talk about paranoid. He really thought the cops were like out in front of his house waiting to get a warrant to bust him with his 2 grams of weed.
I mean, it still has its seedy elements, and Portland historically has definitely been a pretty drug-friendly town of all kinds.
Oh yes.
So, maybe not so much policing-wise, but with the local residents.
Right. That's funny. Yeah, it's been years since I've been there.
Are you set up in Portland over there, or what's your deal?
Yeah, I have a recreational medical store in Portland.
Nice.
Yeah, we just opened last week. So
nice. We're down in like near Medford over there. We're
all the
south.
Where the sun is strong.
Yeah, exactly. Where it's actually agricultural. Exactly.
Yeah, I mean, everything the Willamette Valley is super agricultural too, but you get a longer season the farther south you go, essentially, as long as you don't change too much in elevation.
Right.
And getting that like October finish is pretty crucial. Having to finish at the end of September versus getting to the end of October makes a big difference with any kind of sun growth.
Big difference. Yeah.
Yeah, well, living on the West Coast, at least up here, that's hard to come by.
Yeah, your videos are all like, oh, we're gonna be making some bubble here outside on my patio, and it's -10. The snow's at like 0.
Dude, I'm telling you, my favorite place in the world to make bubble was beside the Chickamus River in Whistler, BC, just raging river right next to us, and me and Johnny B and Phil just pulling a batch out. I implore all of you hash makers, go out in nature and make some hash. The whole lab and the gloves, and that's great for your business aspect, but if you just want to go make some hash for yourself, like, it's nice to do it outside. It's quite a nice experience when you do it.
You did it on a boat out in public.
Oh, dude, come on. I've done it on a bus with DJ Short. In DJ Short, we're making bubble. On a school bus driving through Vancouver. There's one for the books. I'm telling you, dude, I've made it all over the place. We carried ice, like about close to 80 pounds of ice on our head, like in a big giant garbage can, through the jungle of Jamaica for close to an hour. I got hot carrying ice.
No, it was pretty funny when you were like, oh, you missed the first day, and then you sent me the pictures, and I actually wanted the little pads that I have, is the bags hanging between the trees. You had built like a little, like a tree on tree, like hanging thing for all the bag sets.
Was that in Jamaica?
Yeah.
Yeah, because that's another great place to make hash, is in ganja fields in Jamaica. It's terribly warm, and it's not ideal, and blah, 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 but oh my God, it's good. I definitely look forward to the day where I can have my refrigerated unit brought in, rolled in next to a 10-acre, and just be like, you know, go to town with my team and process resin. That's really I love to process resin. I really do enjoy it. I don't see it. People used to always tell me, oh, it's so much work. And I'd be like, really? Because I just did it for like the last 8 days straight for 14 hours a day. I went through 3,000 pounds of ice. I don't know. It felt just like love for me. I love it. Making pounds of full melt bubble, just looking at like 8 to 10 pounds of like full melt bubble glistening like diamonds, all in its separate microns, smelling like the bud that it came from. Yeah, I'm a fan.
That was awesome. That was fucking awesome.
It was from the heart, Dougie. It was from the heart.
That was fucking so from the heart. I needed to hear that, dude. Thank you for that this morning.
Hey, Doug, Dougie, if you had only one strain and you were trapped on a desert island, what genetic would it be?
I think I would want it to be probably like Chem 91. The real Chem 91. No, like the fucking true Chem 91.
Yes, Greg, very happy now. Greg was very happy to hear that. Thank you, Doug.
Oh, hell yeah, man. 100%.
Awesome. Another Garcia-inspired strain, right?
Dude, all I know about that one is it has the funk.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
and everybody says they have it and they don't have it. You get me? But the real one's the real one, dude. I'm back on the East Coast. So.
Yeah, hard to deny it, that is for sure. 840 people in chat watching Hash Church right now, checking us out. We've got Dougie in from Hitman Glass and Chalice Festival, just telling us a little bit about the event and sort of saying, you know, if you can, go support it. Go check it out. It's definitely going to be an insane party with a lot of incredible musicians, incredible glass blowers, incredible food, incredible hash makers, incredible growers. Probably likely to be an incredible event.
Fuck yeah.
Tony's going to
we're really confident it's going to be the biggest one we've.
I'm going to be there. It's been coined the biggest hash festival, I think, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. In North America?
It is, yeah.
In North America. Biggest hash festival in North America. That's what's being coined.
I will say that some of those festivals in India were pretty insane. Went to the Maha Kumbh Mela, which I wouldn't say was a hash festival. There definitely had to have been like thousands of kilos of hash there just in the Baba's possessions. This was kind of the first time I learned about having a card that let you possess hash. This was in India where some of these sadhus just had these little cards, and I was just like, what the fuck is that? Like, you're just a sadhu, you can just have hash? And I saw it at the festivals where the same soldiers that would arrest you and I and put us in prison for a 10-year sentence were like sitting down in these circles, putting their machine guns, leaning them up against the tree, kicking their shoes off, and entering these little circles and smoking hash, smoking tillums.
So, Marcus, was that issued by the federal or the state government?
I don't know.
And how did the naked sadhus carry a card around?
Well, the Nagas obviously don't carry much around except maybe like a skull cap of their mentor who died previously. I never saw those Naga Babas with anything, maybe like a trident, like a spear. But the Babas, most of the Babas I met were like from Rajasthan and from different areas. They were like clothed Babas. The clothed Babas. Obviously, Sam has spent a lot more time in India than myself, and you did it from what? Like, what was your first India trip, Sam?
1971.
Yeah.
And so you're saying in 1971 they were naked, and then when did you go, Mark?
Well, no, they weren't all naked guaranteed in 1971.
No. It's not that simple. They're just have been naked babas.
Naked babas generally are called the Naga babas.
Okay.
Generally, they're Shivite Nagas. Correct.
Yeah, Shivite Nagas. They love hash. I met some, and it was literally like, I'll be honest, it was almost like hanging out with cavemen dudes. Like, they didn't speak the language at all. We didn't speak any of their language, whereas the other babas I met, this guy spoke like 50 languages. These dudes were more apart from even the entire festival, and we went in their little area that they had, because we had beautiful hash from Nepal, and we were like, they love hash, we'll share our hash with them, and we smoked a whack of hash with them, and they offered us some food, and it was definitely one of the most unique experiences I've ever had hanging out with babas. I've hung out with other babas in like Shivite temples and in caves and stuff, and smoked chillums, but these guys were really unique in the sense that they were like outside the box, even of this particular festival.
Shivites, what really makes you feel it is the culture that has praised and loved cannabis, both for medicinal and recreational uses, for several thousand years.
Yeah, it's at the core of who they are and what they do, everything. It's definitely like they are the hashish babas. And I implore anyone who loves hashish, it's not a bad idea to go to India and hang out and meet some babas who just love hashish, just like people that you feel like you had met at a festival in North America. You know, I'm not telling you to go and kiss the feet and worship some dude that you shouldn't be worshiping, as much as to go and make a friend with a hash aficionado on the other side of the world who has a culture behind that hash aficionado-ness that's multi-thousands of years old. It's definitely unique. Hanging out with the sadhus in India, to me, I put it up there with hanging out with the Rastas in Jamaica. Really cool experience. They just both have such a spiritual, centered love for cannabis and hashish. The real deal right there. What do you say, Darrin? Just playing with your beard? Can I have one of those strawberries?
Yep. You gotta come here, though. They're good, too. They're so sweet.
Aw, dude, it's just 10 hours away. Jump on your motorcycle.
I'll bring them. I'm coming down Wednesday morning. I'll see you in the afternoon. I'll probably be there by 12:30.
You know, in a perfect world, Darrin, you and I could jump on our bikes and we could just ride down for Chalice. Like, why is it that, I don't know.
It would be fucking epic. I just went for a ride to Whitehorse and back.
I know, dude. You were doing like 1,000 kilometers a day on average. That's insane.
Went through fucking torrential rains. Roads were flooded out and highways were closed. Railways were flooded out and closed. I had to go a long way, 12-hour ride around the long way, Grand Cache, Jasper, through all the Rocky Mountains.
That's why you ended up in Banff?
Yes. That's,
oh my God! Because of the Dawson Creek flooding.
Yes, no, the Chetwynd flooding through the Pine Pass, which would have been a 4-hour ride, was turned into a 12-hour ride.
Did you go to Dawson?
Yeah, went to Dawson.
Holy shit!
So it's three times on the way to Dawson, we rode where we literally had about this much water that was starting to go over the highway and was going to be fucking closed off anytime. Any fucking time. We just got through that. And then we cruised on up to Whitehorse, man. It was fucking beautiful. I got chased by a buffalo. Almost got bowling ball pinned. Nailed by a buffalo. Fucking charged at me. It was awesome, man. It was crazy. I had to drop a gear and just peel right out of there. It was great.
Yeah, go ahead.
But we had a group of about 13 guys with us. We arrived in Whitehorse at 2 in the morning. We did like a 1,300-kilometer day or something like that at one point. Or 2 of the guys did a $1,300-kilometer day. We did a 1,000-kilometer, 1,200 or something. It was a extra fucking long ride. But the full moon was on one side of the valley, and the sun was just under the mountain on the other side. It was fucking amazing riding up there. Seen grizzlies and black bears and little baby goats and all kinds of shit. It was an epic journey. Went to hot springs, soaked in those 2 different hot springs. It was I did a lot of burning along the way. I got a whole bunch of video and stuff. I'll put one up here right away, but it was an epic ride. And too bad we can't ride down to Chalice. That would be fucking unreal, man.
Yeah.
How many miles is that? How many miles is that for you?
That was it was a.
No, I mean, if you went from where you're at to Chalice, how many miles?
Probably 18, 22 hours, maybe.
That's it.
No way. I bet it's longer than that.
No.
It's 6 hours for me, and I'm in Oakland.
2 days.
30 hours, maybe. It couldn't be more than 30. I've driven one way to Manitoba, where I was born, and that used to take me 23 hours straight. I mean, I know I can get to Portland in 5 hours, 6 hours. How far is Portland from where it is?
Vancouver to Portland, I guess, eh?
Vancouver to Portland's about 5 or 6 hours, I think. But I'm wondering how far Portland is to the Chalice event.
Oh.
Do you know?
While we're pondering that, let's do a bong rip. Bong.
You're right. It's probably about like 18 hours or something like that.
It's 19. So from Vancouver, BC to Los Angeles, it's
like 18.
2,000 kilometers, 19 hours.
20 hours.
That's nothing for you guys.
I know. I could do it in one shot, bro.
You still could do it. July 8th, rocket shot. Do it. Pick me up. Pick me up, and I'll go back up with you.
So for my waiver, when I go to the border, I should say, and when they say, "Why do you want to come down to the U.S.?" I should say, "I'm going to the Chalice Festival. It's the largest hash festival in the world, and I'm a hash guy. I'm Bubbleman. I do the hash thing." It just feels like it won't be the right thing to say.
That's not what you want to say. You want to just say.
Apparently, they want you to be very, very upfront. Like Remo, who got his, he tells them he's going to the Cannabis Cup. Like he's 100% truthful because he says they're not idiots. They can just check YouTube.
They brought him in a secondary. He had a very funny story about it actually this time.
Did he?
Yes, they inquired. They definitely know who he is and what he's doing.
Of course.
And they thought he was making a kind of light of it because he was kind of joking around with them, but. You know, they let him in. He was here at the house getting high with me.
That's what I'm saying. Remo keeps getting in, and the bottom line is this. Both Remo and myself are not criminals. We have no intention on coming down to the U.S. and breaking laws or inspiring people to break laws. We're literally non-criminal people. We're good to go. We're not going to cause any problems. And I think they must obviously know that about Remo because they wouldn't have let him in otherwise.
Mark. Do you want people to think for themselves?
I want people to do whatever they want. If they want to think for themselves, I want them to think for themselves. But if
I'm just saying, then you're dangerous, dude.
Oh shit! Fuck, I am dangerous, aren't I? Shit.
They won't let me in no matter what.
You just give them Remo's name when you come into town, and you say you're going to Hollywood, baby. You're gonna spend. You just got separated from your wife, and you're going down to L.A. to spend all your money.
Going to Disneyland.
Hey, I'd just be as truthful can be. You know, I'd ideally like to go down there for some photography. If I had a photography job to go down, that'd be a perfect.
You do have a photography job.
Dude, I'll fucking give you. I'll fucking pay your ass to come down and fucking take some photos. Let's do this. Get the fuck down here, man. You need to be down for it.
I have all my documents right now.
Hey, work visa. He's offering you work right there. You got a work visa for photography.
Yeah, I'm offering you paid job from the festival. You should come, dude. You should come. We're going to get on the phone. I'm going to harass you. I'm going to text you right when we get off this shit. You know what I mean?
All right.
You're coming. You got it.
Dude, I've been working on this waiver for about 6 months. Go ahead.
Okay. I want to say I'm releasing a new fucking company at the festival. I'm pretty excited about. I'm covered with the current vape apparatus and shit. I think this would be kind of cool to talk about in here. And you know, most people are using quartz, correct? Mostly everybody in here would be using quartz, I assume.
Sapphire.
Okay. How do you like that?
Silicon carbide.
I really like my sapphire. I'm not gonna lie. I went through them all. I got a little bit religious into it, you know, like with the and it was really like I think a good way to learn about nails and heat retention and the way the terpenes react to certain temperatures from certain, metals and glasses, quartzes, whatever. I really seemed to take that shit to the next level when Enrico came by and turned me on to this sublimator thing, and I was like, oh, it's kind of big and it looks a little dangerous, and I burnt myself, and I was like, but then I'd hit it and be like, what the fuck, this thing is insane. It just it gives like those low temp dabs that are like hot, like 1,000 degrees smoky dabs. So you get this insane rip, but it's super, super tasty. Now, I traded it in for an electric nail. I have a dabinator and a D-nail, just because I found it just to be too much, whereas this is just not too much. I can have it out on my desk. I never knock it over. I never, well, I shouldn't say never. I have panned myself here recently. I rarely burn myself with it. I just prefer the ease of it, but I did notice that when I first got it, it was one or the other, or I could find kind of a sweet spot between the two, but I couldn't get them both. I couldn't get a low temp dab with a big hotter, like 750 to 800 even, smoky dab. So I started playing around with the surfaces, and I started playing around with the temperatures, and I ended up finding a pretty damn near close sweet spot, low temp, good rip with the sapphire from D-nail, and it took me a while, man. I went through quartz, and I went through titanium, and I went through silicon carbide, and I went through ceramic. I prefer the quartz now, but traveling, I don't take the quartz. It's too breakable. I'll fuck it up and break it. So now I just take my my silicon carbide. But I'm always down for something new.
Yeah, well, basically, I'm launching a new thing called Wisdom Apparatus, and my criticism of the current nails on the market today, as far as we'll just talk quartz for a second, is you need a specialized cap for it to function in an optimal manner. For example, the Quave Club Banger, you really need that QFZ thing for like the airflow to go over the shit correctly. I mean, if you cap it with a regular little hash container, some glass container, the airflow is not correct. And same goes for a lot of these other things on the market. I think the closest to what I want is something that you can carb with any flat surface. And I think that's, has more of a future than not. I don't think you should have to buy the additional little key to get in the extra door of the shit working the right way, and I think in our culture, I think that a lot of people try to do things that are easier and not more complex. With this new company, Wisdom Apparatus, I'm trying to go a little bit more complex in that small little quartz apparatus thing there. I'm trying to put more work and more focus into the functionality. Now, in the past with Hitman Glass, I've done like a chalice-shaped banger, something that's really novelty or whatever, that really comes down to aesthetics, and it's just a novelty item. It's just the way it's shaped. It has nothing to do with the function. Now, my favorite product on the market that I feel is the most competitive is the Toro Grail. I like how it has slits on the side of it, and you can just carb it with anything flat. So Wisdom Apparatus is kind of, developing off of that concept while using airflow and directionalizing airflow inside of your banger, your quartz apparatus. So what I did is I basically, we created something called a quartz line, which is the first product we're going to be releasing. And what it is basically a quartz bucket with a little inline inserted into it in the center of the bucket, and it's perfectly centered in there, so you're able to put a Q-tip on each side of it to clean underneath it, and the slits are 3 slits that are underneath facing down where your hash puddles up. So when you close it with either a regular little hash container or whatever, which is what I typically use to carburate a fucking nail or whatever is on the table, the airflow comes in and is put down over the puddle of hash, and it creates a flat vaporization element. that doesn't require a specialized carb cap. I mean, that's the first product, but I just like the idea of not having a specialized carb cap. Even with the mothership thing, it's like you need the OFZ thing or whatever for it to really like channel the air the right way. It works. Don't get me wrong. You can smoke off it. You can smoke off all these things without the specialized carb cap, but it doesnn't work in the optimal manner. You know what I mean? So I'm trying to provide nails that are a little more complex. That just the nail. I mean, hey man, there's a lot that goes into it. You look at these nails and you know it's not an average quartz banger. There's something a little more complex in it. And let me see if I have a good image of something clean
the V1
put
I
up here to show you guys. But so the first one.
Go ahead.
I was gonna say the first one's the quartz line, and then the second one is called the totem pole. And I'll show you an image of both.
The totem pole.
And the reason here we go. All right. So I don't know if you can see this image here.
Oh yeah.
But basically, what this is there's slits facing down. Okay. And so when you take your hash and you place it onto the side here, and then you cap the top with anything flat, and the airflow is now presented straight down, and it diffuses the oil onto the quartz, man, and like it really works. Like these new products, it has nothing to do with novelty or shaping or anything, and everything to do with function. And let me pull up a picture of the totem pole. So basically, the quartz line's coming in right here with 3 slits. It's tacked to the other end. It's centered in the quartz cup. Now the totem pole comes up from the bottom, basically into the quartz cup. And so there's like a center. There's an insert that's in the center, and it's cut at an angle like this. There's angles so the air goes down into the trough. So basically, picture a thing with cuts that are at an angle facing down into the bottom part of the trough. So when you carve it with the top, you literally get a similar. It's a different airflow than the quartz line because the quartz line is much more directed. It directionalizes the air over the bottom. This directionalizes it into the outside, and it really is easier for cleaning purposes.
Well, you definitely got something.
The totem pole is definitely more successful.
Are you going to have those at Chalice?
100%. So I'm releasing these new products at Chalice. I'm releasing the videos of them. I figured I'd kind of shoot a little debut on this thing. But dude, I mean, they're fucking badass. Like I'll say, like the function behind these things speaks for itself. If you look here, here's an image of the, let's see if I can get it. Yeah, so you see, this is the totem pole.
Interesting. Oh yeah, it looks like a quartz band. Oh yeah.
Oh no,
just wanted to see the top of it. Right, flat top, so you can just carve it with a flat jar or whatever.
Carve it with anything, and then like I'm saying, these concepts are just this is stuff that I've shown some people to make quartz, and they're like, dude, why would you do all that? You know? Most people's response is, dude, that's so hard. Why would you do that? That's going to be really expensive. And my reaction is, dude, everybody's spending 5 figures, 6 figures on a fucking bong, and you're tripping about spending $300 on a fucking nail? What's going on? Seriously.
Yeah.
All these people are putting all this energy into all this shit. What's up? I got a great point, and I know it because it's ridiculous. You're going to fucking complain, and you're going to have, dude, I went to a sesh the other day. There's $60,000 worth of all these rigs, Matt Robertson, all this shit, and every fucking nail on the shit was imported. It was like a $5 nail. And I even said to the dude, I was like, what's the point of having all this nice shit when you skimp out on your nail, dog? That's the shit you're inhaling off of.
Exactly.
Real shit. You know what I mean? Like, hey, drops right there, bro. That's the real shit.
I paid $300 US for my nail, which when they changed it over to Canadian, it was about $450 for my nail.
Mm-hmm.
It is what it is. I like to have a nice nail. I definitely am not hitting off a swag nail.
You know what time it is with that shit, but what sucks is like, hey, generally these collectors, you know what I mean? They don't care about the nail. You know, they care about the rig, which is kind of backwards. So I'm going to put more energy and make these things more complex, and we're going to try to innovate these nails into a scientific apparatus that aren't necessarily cheap. You know what I mean? But they function fucking badass. Well, that's what time it is.
I think you're going somewhere correctly with it, because every time I've talked about that sublimator, and the reason I can't even understand why it hits so good, and Enrico's always like, it's the Venturi, it's making a Venturi, and he goes on about the Venturi, and I'm like, dude, well, whatever, it's got to be something, because truly, that fucking thing hits unlike anything. It's just ridiculous. And it's the key to his thing is also the bowl and the heating unit. So his heating unit heats the bowl up, and only once the bowl itself, because it's like a big titanium bowl or whatever, once it gets hot to the same temperature as the heating unit, then you can like either dab your hash on the outside, or you can lift up and you can put your hash in. And I'm telling you, like, some of the most insane vapor rips I've ever gotten in my life have been from that unit, and it's simply because he thought about the, I guess, the thermodynamics, or the aspect of the heat and the air and how it all works together, just much the same way you're going down that rabbit hole. I won't be surprised if you go very, very deep down that rabbit hole. Because you're right.
100%, man. And I mean, but bro, I'm into it. Fuck it. I wanna develop it. You know, I'm bored, bro. I'm bored with this shit. I think we all are. You know, we do the same thing how many fucking times a day? It'd be nice to have everything function optimally. You know what I mean? So.
Yes, that is for sure. Absolutely. Pre-prohibition,
but yeah, I'll say this: it was an honor to be on this show today. I'll say that, gentlemen. I'd like to come on more frequently. And fucking hey, man, thanks so much. I'd love to get on a call with you, Mark. You know what I mean? After this, and get it figured out, man. Much love to everybody, dude. And I hope to see everyone at Chalice. And this is a beautiful little thing. I'm definitely going to want to pop back on, probably on a weekly basis. I'm excited. Thank you, Todd, for the introduction to this shit. And respect to all you guys for paving the road the way you did for me to be able to fucking love pot and hash the way I do. Cheers.
Respect.
It's a good thing. It's a good thing. Oh, we got people holding down the chat room. Aqua Lob Technologies and a few other folks are in there. I think you're going to see a lot of people at your event, dude. I'm definitely hoping that you've got a good group of people. I know you got Todd doing photographs, but hopefully there's some good videographers that are going to be there and making videos for their own channels and whatnot. I'm sure if Tony goes there, he'll end up making some videos and doing some interviews. People like to see people that aren't able to go always like to be a part of it too.
You know, Doug, one more thing I'd like to, you didn't allow people to do something that always has annoyed me, which was blast DJ booths across at their neighbors, and I thought it was so refreshing to walk through your event and be able to talk to people and actually network with people and hear the people at their booths talk back to me and not have to scream, and I personally, for one, appreciated that. And I'm sure you're doing it again this year.
Fuck yeah. Hell yeah, man. I mean, that's that shit where, like, nobody got time for that. Some dude, like, I don't need to have a audio battle with some guy. And what sucks is a vendor, you spend a lot of fucking money to be at these events. And you show up and you're next to some dude who's trying to make a name for himself as a DJ in a 10x10 fucking easy up. Hey, bro, snap out of it. You know, it's just obnoxious more than anything else, right? Like, well, that was one thing I hate about shows.
It also puts the focus on the reason most people are there, and it's to meet other people and to talk to other people. I mean, we don't always go to just look at objects. We go to interact with people, and if you create this audio barrier that you can't fucking hear the person next to you, it really defeats the purpose of being there on so many levels. And I thought it was a more communal experience because people were having an easier time communicating at your event, and I liked it. And I can't wait for this year. One other thing I think you did, which was cool, is you took the time to set up lounge areas and such so that people could sit down and interact. And I think it felt like, for me, you as someone who has done a lot of shows yourself as a vendor, walked around going, what's this lacking? And Chalice has a lot of the elements that lack in other shows. Most shows lack a place to chill out. Most shows lack the ability to hear other people talk. And your event is actually, it's louder and quieter at the same time. My grandmother used to say that the softer you speak, the harder they hear. And I thought that it was an interesting way to put it. And Chalice, to me, was kind of soft-spoken and gave everybody the ability to kind of hear their thoughts and to share them. I really like that.
Fuck yeah, well, that means a lot, bro. Thank you so much, sir.
Well, right on, man. I think you're getting it, and I think that it's really cool to experience, you coming at it from a place of, trying to create an event you'd want to hang at, and not just trying to scream at your audience. And I, for one, appreciate it. I think it's going to make the weekend really well worth attending.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and it makes it stand out. It makes it stand out from the rest, That's the one thing, dude.
Yeah, I think it's fantastic. And, going into these areas that were, traditionally very conservative with these events is also very cool because they are economically in tough situations, and this is the kind of income they could use. I mean, so looking at us as a cannabis demographic that can be responsible and, work within whatever rules that they're kind of handing us so that we can actually not have to hide our bongs or say water pipe when we're having a conversation about reality is really an achievement, and I'm really glad you're kind of pushing it, and I'm glad that these conservative places are opening up to us as a culture. Chalice is no doubt a big part of that happening, I think. So.
Does Chalice have any vision in the future one day when you get out of the black and into the red to maybe produce some shows outside of America, maybe do some Chalices around the world, maybe Chalice Jamaica?
Yeah, I mean, hey man, I would love to. I'm a firm believer that this event space is this is something I could see myself doing. I could see myself wanting to leave my mark in this space, and to have actual influence in creating other events, to be forced to step up and raise their bar to where it should have been the whole fucking time, and do I want to bring it to other areas? Of course. The one thing I also don't want to do is water down Chalice to be something that I feel like what happened with High Times really is they watered it down. It doesn't mean as much, man. And so, I'll be transparent. My next festival I've already have in the works, and it's called Happy Place. And that's my new festival. Happy Place is something I feel like all of us have we all have our happy place, and most of it is in a cannabis fucking grow room or in your situation, making hash or whatever, bro. But this industry has been a happy place for us and a safe place for us, and I believe that instead of throwing Chalice Winter, I'd rather throw Happy Place. So it's something else to look forward to. And then again, now Chalice keeps that meaning because I love what Chalice is and what it's becoming for everyone. You know what I mean? But then again, I could see Chalice fucking internationally. I see another Chalice, but it would have to be, I want to build this so it stands on its own first, and then maybe I'll go there. But I want to build some of these other ones too that have the same similar platform. So.
I wonder how many people pictured the movie Happy Gilmore when he went to his happy place, when you said happy place. Because I totally pictured it 150%. Like the white suit, the funny music, and happy place. Man. Yeah, dude.
I kind of find it appropriate, Dougie, because I'm from the East Coast too. Obviously, I grew up just south of Boston in Rhode Island, and it's like a hard place. The winters are tough, but everybody really is kind of soft, You know, everybody's busting each other's balls and talking shit, but everybody loves each other. It's fucking hilarious. It's very, I don't know, it's a heck of a different vibe, but we all do want to find our happy place. You know, we're all about peace and love, you know, so I think it's really appropriate. Very cool.
Hell yeah, I think it's a great name. So
I think that you should definitely get Slayer to play at the Happy Place Festival.
Fuck off.
Oh, dude, we were talking about, dude, Happy Place needs like some hard rock. It needs some like, so it needs to be like the kind of musical lineup where you're like, oh my god, that just like, I didn't know what to expect, and that shit looks raw. Like, you know, it's got to be a little bit of everything, and it really does need to be eclectic, man. I'm excited, bro. This is what I'm saying, like creating a new canvas. You know, Chalice, I've written on the canvas. You know, I can create a new canvas. I can reinvent myself at any point. I'm not a one-trick pony. You know what I mean? I'm just getting started. So,
well, you know
like,
what's interesting,
you know,
though,
Happy Place could be bigger than Chalice.
In a way, it should be, because now that, think about all the alcohol-drenched events that are around us everywhere we go, you know, and there hasn't been stuff that's really come straight from the heart of cannabis and hashish, and we could, I mean, this should be a multicultural event. You know, the Oregon Country Fair, you know, we used to be this big nude cannabis event, but it got a little more conservative 20 years ago. And I think that it needs to open back up to that. I mean, as a culture, we need to be accepted, and as we're accepted, we should be allowed to have these really, you know, very diverse, eclectic events. It really better represents our culture when you think of everything from acoustic surfer music to hardcore, you know, rappers, and they're all smoking the same bud. They're all inspired by the same Mary Jane. And it'd be really beautiful if everyone could come together and see all these different vibes happening at the same time. You know, you used to see that at events in Amsterdam. I once went to an event where Ben Harper, Van Morrison, and then P-Funk played last, and it was all in the same tent at that particular rave going on at that time. And it was a real trip to see Ben Harper, then Van Morrison, and then, you know, Parliament Funk come out and just nail it. It was, but that's kind of how eclectic I think that we really are deep down inside. You know what I mean? There's a lot of room between, you know, Moon Dance and, you know, P-Funk, but not really. You know, we're all, you know, we're all smoking the same shit. And I think it would be really nice to see these events get bigger and to be more inclusive and to really represent how eclectic our culture truly is, you know.
I'd like to say something about that as well.
It's not like you're throwing Chalice again. You know what I mean? Like, it's not like, oh, it's Chalice again, dude. You know what I mean, bro? I'm sorry to interrupt, but that's my only point. There's too many Chalices, dude. You know? Like, too many high times. So
my best concert that I experienced, you know, I've been to all kinds of Slayer concerts, all this stuff. I'm going to meet them in October, backstage stuff and everything, got some fan passes and that. But the best time I ever had was sitting on the grass with a couple of my bros, smoking out of my mothership, smoking out of their glass and good hash at the 420 event in Vancouver without having to put it, you know, under the table smoking type thing or having security looking at you. And at a concert, I went to Black Sabbath and people were smoking all around me and I couldn't smoke because I was right at the spot where the security was and they were fucking running around sniffing people out smoking dope. If we could just have that freedom of being able to be ourselves, like there's a beer garden, there's all that sort of stuff. Why not be able to fucking smoke your weed? Smoking hash on the grass in my bong was the freest moment I think I've ever felt in my life at the concert at the 420 event in Vancouver. It was fucking glorious. That's all I got to say. Thank you.
Yeah.
Glorious.
Yeah. And I mean, hey, man, we just need to accept it, bro. That's all. Like, you don't want to feel like a fucking criminal. Being able to vibe in front of a stage, holding your torch and your fucking rig, and you're in your element. You know what I mean? Yo, I've been kicked out of so many concerts all over the fucking country, dude, because, you know what I mean, we were smoking weed, we were fucking doing all that shit. Like, and I don't want us as a community to feel criminalized being able to enjoy what, you know, in our element.
The stigma of all this shit needs to go away. Oh, go smoke another one, you fucking pothead. Fuck, I can't find my keys. Oh, have another one, doper. You know, just stupid comments that people have Even I use it on my buddies, you know, because I see them being stoned and I laugh and I make fun of them, but I get it back. But it's still the stigma that we're all used to. That, you know, I want it to. It should not be looked at as even as bad as smoking cigarettes 10 feet away from a doorstep and invading our space with that cigarette smoke in our face. That should be looked at as a worse element than marijuana smoking in a public place 10 meters away from a door and that sort of stuff, medicating.
But we live in a topsy-turvy world, D420K, where lawyers destroy justice and police destroy, you know, like all the things that are supposed to be protected and the integrity is supposed to be kept intact is just destroyed. Everything's upside down.
Yeah. But you know what, I want to add to that. You know, they're going to believe it until they see otherwise. And I hate to say that humans are cynical, but they're cynical for a reason, and it's, you know, self-preservation. You know, if we were all, you know, running into everything without thinking twice, we would all be getting fucking hit by buses. And the truth is that it pays to kind of be a little leery of shit. And unfortunately, cannabis users have not had the opportunity to show themselves except in private of what they're really like to hang out with. We haven't been allowed to have bars. We, you know, Stonewall, the gay inn where actually the riot happened and the gay pride all really came out of, was just made a landmark, a historical landmark. We don't even have a Stonewall, if you will, in the cannabis industry because we've never been allowed even to do that yet. I mean, this is something that our culture was so verboten that we haven't even been able to express ourselves in conjure and listen to jazz without, you know, just getting busted, you know, or really alcohol interfering with our, you know, because really the bars would be the ones that would pressure us not to be able to sit around and smoke. So we need to be able to have our own bars that are cannabis made and not, you know, brought to you by Budweiser and JD. Not that I have a problem, but they have their own self-interest in selling their liquor, and if we're sitting around smoking weed, we're not going to buy it. I had an interesting experience in a Dutch bar where I had a friend visit who didn't smoke weed, so I brought him to a Dutch pub, and when I went in, he ordered a beer, I ordered an orange juice, and I went to light my joint, and the guy brought us the drinks, and he said, hey, after your drinks, you guys are welcome to leave. And he goes, you can't smoke that in here. And I was like, why though, with alcohol and tobacco at the time? And he said, honestly, people won't buy the alcohol if they sit there smoking weed. And I don't make any money off you basically smoking weed. And I was like, fair enough. I'll free up the table for someone who fucking make you cash. But that sucks for us because I can't, you know, he's probably making better margins off of the orange juice, but I'm not going to sit there and pound orange juices like somebody would sit there and pound whiskey. And when he was so honest with me, I got where he was coming from. So we did. We just left, you know, and he was totally friendly about it. But, you know, this is what we've been dealing with culturally, and it sucks. And until there's hash and grass behind the bar and they want us to sit there and they don't care if we consume orange juice because we bought some grass and that's what's actually paying the rent on the place, we're really not going to be able to get together and enjoy ourselves like we deserve to.
Put some gourmet appetizers in there, some fucking good food in place of the alcohol. You'll get lots of smokers spending money in there because that's what I love to do, smoke and eat.
Arjen did that really well with the Unity Greenhouse coffee shop in Amsterdam where they have appetizers and burgers and great desserts, and it's my favorite spot to sit and smoke and eat and just chill out. It's so inclusive, you know. You can make friends. You can, you know, eat good food. It is really, really great.
Look at Darrin with his with the breakfast place there, like on the what the heck street is that on?
It's like he calls it Uptown, and it's up by the drug box or whatever. Yeah. I forget what street that is as well. But Darrin really, you know, Barney's Breakfast Bar really was what pushed it. He was making American-style breakfasts and putting it out there, and it was really a great experience. I mean, the Dutch eating experience is heavy dairy and cheese, and like it was nice to go in there and kind of get a light version of that American style. It was very popular. You know, Barney's is still very popular. Great grass, great food. You know. And I think it's nice to class this up. I mean, what preceded the THC Expo for me was I had the opportunity to help co-produce 3 years, 3 parties at the Playboy Mansion, where we were raising money and awareness for the legalization of cannabis for the Marijuana Policy Project. And we were really trying to network within Hollywood, because like as a culture we can't afford to go buy a Michael Jordan and get him to be our spokesperson. So we kind of got to meet these people and, you know, give them the rap and teach them why they should be speaking up about cannabis. And that was a really classy place to bring people together. And it left me feeling like we need this. We need to class up our whole culture, because it would really show the world, you know, what stoners really are all about. You know, we are sophisticated environmentalists. We're concerned for nature. We're highly compassionate. We have a lot of empathy. We want to clean up after ourselves. I mean, we don't leave messes, you know, unlike High Times. You know, we really do our best to be good neighbors. And I think it's important that people know that and people see that. And that's why I think it's great that guys like Dougie are doing the event, because we need more kind of conscious capitalists who are trying to use their money to do good things within the community, not just come in, cash in, and split, go on vacation.
But at the same time, you know, I have to say, from someone that went the far end of the other stick, from the cash in and make money, and I'm talking not about throwing a big event, but when I opened my shop, The Melting Point, when we did the Glass Gallery, when we did the Raw Food Cafe, when we did the vaporization station of inhalation, all of these things very much before their time, 2003, 2004, 2005. Lots of time and energy went into it. The integrity was unfortunately so high that, you know, much like Dougie was saying with his events, it just kept being more and more and more and more of a loss. And it's just so strange that we can get people to support the can of Coke and the donut for food, but like you put the super high integrity food and they just don't want to pay for it, or they don't want to, you know, it was a little bit ahead of its time. But what I'm saying is you definitely have to be a little bit of a businessman and make sure that you're able to keep the integrity as high as possible while not crushing yourself out of the opportunity to continue to bring your whatever it is that you're doing to the people.
You know, it's funny that's kind of why I wanted to talk about Chalice, because I really wanted people to know that this is someone that's trying to make a difference. Like, it's not going to be this, you know, shitty parking lot, DJs at every booth screaming in your face, you know, why am I here experience. It's going to be a place where you can actually meet people, make friends, and experience, you know, a pretty damn good vibe. You know, that's why I think it's kind of cool to attend and cool to check out. I mean, this represents kind of hash culture. This represents the ability to, you know, network and communicate. And in a way, High Times did that. I mean, back in the 90s, I wouldn't have friends like you, Mark, if it wasn't for our ability to go break off and explore coffee shops and, you know, just sit at Positronics and talk for hours while eating. I mean, that shit was gold, you know. So the fact that this is now, we have a different culture here in America, and we're not exactly going to go bounce around within a few square miles to all these culturally different coffee shops and restaurants, but we have to create that at the event. And, you know, this is where it's at. You know, if we don't do it, who will? And if when people do it, we don't support it, what's up? Go ahead, Dougie.
I'd like to say something too, that like, I'll say this, man. High Times, I'm not going to take away from what they did. You know what I mean? I learned, like, hey, man, Nico took me under his arm. Like, hey, man, these people showed, they pioneered it there. Like, I'll give it to them. They pioneered these events right now in America in that sense. They paved the way. I have the utmost respect for them. You know, it came down to, I had an issue with Chalice where I was forced to move venues because they wanted to strong-arm me. I've been communicating with Matt Stang for the last, since before last Chalice, about my dates for this year. I told them I had no interest in throwing an event on their dates. I've gone, I've traveled around, my brands have been staples of their events since they started doing them in the U.S. You know, hey, man, it played a huge role in my love of weed, is traveling around to these events. If I liked them or not, if they were cool or not. I met a lot of these people. Hey, man, we got to chill, Mark, out there in the dam because I was out there for, you know? Like, I've created bonds with people because of that shit, and I'll always respect them for what they did. I just think that their business plan's fucking garbage. And I would say to their face, it's fucking garbage, and it's not helping anybody. And them trying to strong-arm me out of that venue to try to prove a point and then backing down really made them look even worse. It made them look, they realized they fucked up. And I was so respectful about not having any conflict with them. They just went out of their way to be malicious. And I had to hear that they were throwing an event on my dates in an advertising deck I got in an email before my contract was even canceled. I, of course, had a contract. I would never advertise an event without a back-end contract. You know, and it just sucks that, like, it created this animosity with me in High Times where, look, they were malicious. It was completely unnecessary for them to do that. And now here we are now. Where now, you know, actually it's a better venue. It's about 25 more minutes of a drive. But you know what? It's a better venue. And it's going to bite them in the fucking ass because they are firing a lot of the people in that company right now that we all know personally. So all the personal connections are going to be gone. You know, and then it's just business. And then we're going to be talking about the good old days when you could talk to someone from High Times that gave a fuck. You know, and my request to them is I appreciate everything they've done for me except for these recent moves. You know, and I think that them putting in the bare minimum in this shit and not put it, you know what I mean? Like, they get away with getting one music act. You know what I'm saying? Like, they get away with putting the bare minimum, dude. But, like, these aren't High Times. The amount of money they have, they should be throwing events that are the most impactful in this industry. You know what I mean? And the fact that they're not, the fact that I'm doing judges' kits, okay? I have kits. It wouldn't even have to be a judge kit. They could just have collector cup kits. You know, dude, the amount that they're putting in is so shitty. Like, they don't put enough in, and they're charging more for the booth. It's for the exposure, you know? And again, dude, I was at every High Times event until they fucked me. And that's real. Until they fucking tried to maliciously push me out of that venue and put me out of business. When they knew I had deposits down with all these acts, 6-figure deposits with these acts, there's no excuse. I haven't got a call from Matt Stang or anything. And you know what, dude? I will never support a High Times event ever again. That's where I'm at right now. I have no choice but to never support another High Times event, and that's where I'm coming from my heart. Because you know what, dude? I was at every event, and I was a staple of their events, and they're so quick to throw somebody aside. I don't like that, and I don't give a fuck what kind of advertising power they have. I'm over here wondering what the fuck, why everybody's so quick to hand them the money. But you know what's kind of sketchy? All those people that go so big at High Times aren't part of Chalice. Why? Because you can't buy a fucking trophy? That's a real question. Like, my competition you can't buy. My competition, I'm going to show you how the results came to be. And again, I might be a little passionately upset with this situation. Rightfully so. I got a month taken away from my advertising. I lost a lot of money in advertising and everything for this event when I went so far out of my way to be respectful. I can only say that I think it was a poor business move. And I think they realized that, and that's why they changed their dates. But it looked weak, and it continues to look weak. And anybody who does talk to them, I love a call from Matt Stang and an apology. And an email starting to talk about how he's going to make shit right with me. Because I've been fucking a staple of their shit, and I want to continue to be if I wasn't treated like a piece of shit. And that sucks, because I've given them more than enough glass. I've fucking smoked more than enough hash with them dudes, and I thought we had some type of understanding. It would be like Mark doing something malicious. I'd be fucking shocked, you know? And hey, that's the situation we're in. Sorry to vent on this shit, but that's keeping it 100. You know what I mean?
Hey, well, that's why you're throwing your own event, dude. You know, you're focused on throwing your own event. That's what Chalice is. You've branched off, and I'm sure that the energy of being positive and focusing on, you know, what your event is going to be all about is definitely where you should just leave your energies and don't worry about those guys too much.
I'm just more discouraged that, dude, I'm more discouraged that they couldn't coexist. And it's sad because I'm not trying to do anything malicious, and I was so respectful. It just sucks that these events can't coexist together in this industry. You know what I mean? And that's why I don't feel like it's truly about community.
Well, this is the reality.
I wasn't using any advertising.
Well, this is the reality of now with regular business coming in, and so High Times is jockeying for its position because, as you know, people are just looking for to establish their name and their reputation, but they also forget that we're still a community, that we're still people, that there's been many of us behind the scenes pulling those strings, and if friends are friends, business is business, but when they start interfering in other people's business that was fair, which yours was, you were throwing your own festival on your own. So I don't understand, but it's also part of the reality of as I was stating, it's part of this. Everyone's jockeying for their positions. Who's going to be what, where, and how? Whereas you threw a party for the people and for people who appreciate smoke, glass, good music. As Todd stated previously, it's an area where people could go and we could actually sit down and talk. You couldn't, at High Times event, they were having everybody with music at every single booth where you couldn't hear each other speak. I literally left an event early because it's basically so loud that I was getting a headache and I couldn't talk to somebody standing right next to me. So I appreciated that it was an area that was provided that I could not only enjoy good music, but I could sit wherever I was and hear the music, but I could also sit down and talk to people and they could hear me without having to shout. But I'm sorry that happened to you, Dougie, but, rise above it, do your event, show them how it's done, and just lead by example. When people shit on you, and trust me, being a leader for 17 years in this movement, I have haters along the way, but, don't give in to it.
Dude.
Just keep doing what you do and drive forward, and, the love and respect will come through because you do it with love, you do it with respect. It comes out. It showed, I went to Chalice last year as a nobody. I've been on Hash Church and people definitely came up and said hey, etc. But it was fun to just be at an event. And I didn't have to worry about bringing my pipe in. I didn't have to worry about being shaken down for sitting down and smoking. I could sit down and smoke with my friends wherever I wanted to, and then I could listen to great music. On top of that, I was hanging with Rob Clark and Todd and everybody. You gave Rob this gigantic trophy that's bigger than my body, which he fucking deserves, as well as you gave Debbie Goldsberry, who is my partner in Berkeley Patients Group. You not only give representative to the men, you give representative to the women, and the history there. So that's key. And I just want to give you a lot of love and respect to, don't give in to the negativity. Keep it positive and just do what you do.
Fuck yeah, man. Hey, I appreciate that, and I appreciate the kind words, man. So I'm excited to kick it with you and party. So
I look forward to it.
Hell yeah. Well, we got 780 people watching and listening in church here right now, talking a little bit about the Chalice event that's coming up here in July. I definitely will try to see what I can do. I know I have an event on the 9th and the 10th, so even if I did make it down, it would only be for one day for myself of the event. I could come down a little bit early maybe. We'll see if my waiver gets sorted out, but otherwise I definitely will be at the Cannabis and Hemp Conference in Vancouver from the 9th and the 10th. Going to do Hash Church actually from the second stage at the Cannabis and Hemp Conference. They've given us a little staged area, so I'll try to pull out some of the people that are speaking that are going to be there. There's definitely some very good speakers I mentioned earlier. Come check it out if you're around. If you're in Cali, go check out the Chalice event. And no matter where you are, definitely check out Hash Church because we're always here every week. This is episode 92. I want to thank everyone for coming in. We rocked out for 3 solid hours for you guys. Thank you, Doug, for coming in and sharing your stories and telling us about the event, letting us know what's going on. Thanks, Todd, obviously, for bringing in another great guest and coming in and sharing your time with us. Etienne, D420K, Skunkman Sam, and Mark Scialdone, Tony Verzura, and obviously all the people that are watching right now. Thank you guys so much for sharing your time with us. We'll see you guys next week for Hash Church 93. What do you say? Aye, Capitan.
See you guys next 93. What do you say?